Well, here we are again. It is August 16th of 2025. I'm Jay Essen, and as I have outlined on my Patreon account, I'm going to be playing through Ryan Veter's Crocodracula The Beginning games. I should clarify, these are games that Ryan has adapted from Tailframe's old Lost Media games. Perhaps I should let his website do the explanation, but this is the first of those games, Crocodracula Beginning. If we go to his website, he has a page specifically for these. Here are the Crocodracula games I've been able to track down. Crocodracula Beginning, What Happened to Calvin, and The Enigma of Crocodracula. As he describes, every 90s kid remembers the show Crocodracula, the infamous Dark Shadows for Tweens that aired between 1980-something and 1990-something. If you're not familiar, a quick web search will give you the details, but the broad strokes are these. Spunky teens find a medieval castle in a Florida swamp. Their discovery sets off a series of supernatural mysteries and adventures, all orbiting around the castle's master, the enigmatic Crocodracula. A nerdier subset of 90s kids will remember the computer game company Tailframe, infamous self-declared successors to Infocom. As the commercial text adventure market dried up, Tailframe managed to remain viable through predatory marketing strategies, playing fast and loose with intellectual property law, and generally towing the line of becoming a full-fledged criminal enterprise. Original ideas being expensive and inconvenient to produce, most of Tailframe's catalog consisted of interactive adaptations of then-popular books and TV shows. Their Crocodracula games were some of the adaptations for which they legally procured the licensing rights. It's not clear how many Crocodracula games were produced. Tailframe was never passionate about careful or accurate record-keeping. But the course the fates have charted for me is such that more than one of these games have fallen into my hands. To preserve these games for posterity, I have ported them from Tailframe's proprietary format to the much less hazardous Inform 7 language. All Tailframe games included feelies, extra little physical thingies, to enhance immersion and or act as low-budget piracy protection. For each Crocodracula game I've ported, I've written a blog post with images of all the feelies I was able to recover. You'll want to pore over these scans carefully if you want to enjoy the same gameplay experience as our 90s ancestors. For the most part, I have resigned myself to a life of rediscovering and porting old Crocodracula games, but in my few free moments I write my own interactive fiction, which you might want to check out. Thank you for your interest. So, first game is Crocodracula The Beginning. Let's go ahead and check out the background info. Here's Ryan's blog. Uncovered, Crocodracula The Beginning. You can play this game right now, but you should probably find out where it came from first. A few months ago, I came into the possession of a copy of a very old, very rare text-adventure game. I happened to be poking around in, well, maybe I should start from further back. The story so far. A few years ago, I came into the possession of a copy of a very old, very rare text-adventure game titled Crocodracula, What Happened to Calvin. Feeling an obligation toward the preservation of an oft-overlooked art form, Actually, I should go back even further. In the early 90s, as you surely remember, there was a television show called Crocodracula, an adventure, light horror, soap opera-style type program about teens solving spooky mysteries aimed at preteens. Although I remember loving it, my memory of the show is mostly very fuzzy. The Wikipedia article is probably a more reliable source if you want details. This was around the same time Tailframe was scraping the bottom of the commercial interactive fiction market by churning out a series of licensed and unlicensed tie-in games based on whatever franchises the kids were spending their parents' money on that month. From what I've been able to figure out, there were a half dozen or more Crocodracula games published before Tailframe's inevitable dissolution. What exactly happened to the Tailframe staff in the end is a subject of some dispute. Again, I'll refer you to the Wikipedia article. In 2017, as I explained at the time, I came into the possession of a copy of Crocodracula, What Happened to Calvin, which seemed to fall somewhere in the middle of the Tailframe Crocodracula timeline. I wanted to share my discovery with the internet, but I could not, in good conscience, upload the original game files. These games don't play nicely with modern computers, thanks to Taleframe's borderline sociopathic anti-piracy measures. Instead, I recreated the game word for word in the much friendlier Inform 7 text adventure development system, and published it for all to play. It didn't get the huge response I expected, but of course I don't do what I do out of a desire for fame or recognition. At any rate, my role in the history of Crocodracula seemed to have ended. Except it hadn't. The beginning. As you know, part of my volunteer work involves searching old school buildings to make sure they're empty before they're demolished. My boss is very strict about the rule that says we can't keep any of the stuff we find in the condemned schools, but my boss is still human, and like all humans, she has her weaknesses. To make a long story short, I now own this antique video game. Here is the box art of Crocodracula: The Beginning, complete with pricing sticker and UPC and various publisher logos, and quite impressive graphic of Crocodracula in the shadows of his castle with a terrible lightning strike outside. Crocodracula: The Beginning, the first entry in Taleframe's Crocodracula series, and I have graciously taken the time to port the whole thing to Inform 7, so that you can play it without first having to unlock your Commodore 64. Unlike What Happened to Calvin, which adapted a single story arc from the show, The Beginning appears to be a medley of plot lines and characters from the first season or so, strung together with a less than meticulous attitude toward the source material. I won't spoil anything, but I have a fairly strong recollection of how Becca Drapkin first discovered Crocodracula's castle on the show, and the events in the game do not match up with my memory in the slightest. Taken on its own merits, though, The Beginning is a passable piece of work. I thought some parts were pretty spooky. Zoe doesn't get much to do in this one, despite being one of the two main characters, but I'll let you judge it for yourself. You can play the game right here. To properly enjoy Crocodracula: The Beginning, you'll want to take a look at the feelies. This particular copy of Crocodracula: The Beginning still had 2 feelies in the box, and they were of much higher quality than those that would be included with What Happened to Calvin a year or so later. This kind of bait-and-switch was typical of Taleframe's modus operandi. I am deeply indebted to Harrison Gerard for his assistance in preparing quality scans of the game's packaging and the following materials. First of all, the game included a map of Opasasa, Florida, hometown of the show's heroines, Becca and Zoe. I don't think the map is incredibly accurate to the show, although it includes some details the game lacks, like the spooky train tracks on the edge of town, but the verisimilitude is enhanced by Becca's handwritten notes. In this case, the verisimilitude is also spoiled somewhat by additional handwritten notes from the game's previous owner. Here is See and Do in Opasasa. I'm going to open that image in a new tab. And here's the back of the map. Advertising pays, piano lessons, self-awakening, open house, cleaning by Vivian. I'm going to open that in a new tab as well. There's also a postcard. Not a postcard for the player to mail to a friend, but an in-universe postcard, already stamped and postmarked, from Becca to her pen pal in Africa. I don't remember that part of the show at all, but this image of the Opasasa water tower is burnt into every Crocodracula fan's brain. Here's Opasasa. Let's open that in a new tab. And historic water tower. Dear Unreadable, how are things in something else? I hope your dad's attic cattle are doing better. I asked around, but none of my teachers know anything about some form of disease. We don't see a lot of cattle in Opasasa, but Miss Lipton says you guys don't have a lot of swampland in Botswana, so I thought I'd tell you about our own swamp is like. Etc., etc. Basically, a lot of in-universe details. The package I received contained a couple more artifacts that weren't part of the game per se, but might qualify as feelies for us 30 years later. The most fascinating is an order form, apparently cut out of the game's instruction manual. Here we have a Taleframe Software Products order form. With a number of games, the copy reads, Taleframe is proud to distribute over a dozen quality interactive fiction games, all of which are carefully created and vetted by our proud team of Taleframers. You'll want all the games in our exciting series. Each game takes you on a fantastic adventure through spooky castles, dark caves, magical lands, and more. And best of all, you are in control. You make the action. You make the adventure with Taleframe Interactive Games. And then we have an order form for a variety of games, each of which listed at $22.95, including Crocodracula: The Beginning, Crocodracula: The Green Eyes, Crocodracula: What Happened to Calvin, Crocodracula: A Switch in Times, Crocodracula, The Enigma of Crocodracula. Crocodracula, Before the Dawn. Hey dude, this ranch is our ranch. Human Services. I can manage a nuclear plant. I can manage a ski resort. Mervyn Peake presents Titus Groan. Stella and Ella, Paris Girls. Stella and Ella, Designer Detectives. Stella and Ella, Apartment Panic. Prices and availability to change without notice. If you solve the sheriff's puzzle in Crocodracula the Beginning, congratulations! You're a bona fide vocabulary deputy. Simply send in this page with the password filled out, along with $15 to claim your prize of an official vocabulary deputy badge. And then there's the order form, etc. This is the first contemporary listing I've ever found of even a partial Tailframe catalog. Apparently there are a bunch of other Crocodracula games out there. And I know the show Hey Dude and Titus Groan, of course, but what on earth is Human Services? The last item is a sheaf of papers, apparently well used by the game's previous owner, with instructions for reverse engineering the game's registration key to bypass its quite nasty anti-piracy measures. I relied heavily on this mysterious author's work, and I'm sure you'll find it interesting too. Here we have Crocodracula, Crocodracula the Beginning, Registration Key Fact Sheet by BLP. We'll go ahead and open that. Of course, I wanted to make Crocodracula the Beginning accessible to everyone, so part of the process of porting this game was to identify these copy protection safeguards and figure out ways to disable them. It was a lot of extra work, but I got them all. I mean, I'm pretty sure I did. So let's check out this fact sheet, which is a little bit badly framed. Let's zoom out a little. Okay. The first Crocodracula tie-in game by Tailframe, known as Crocodracula and then Crocodracula the Beginning, is equipped, like all Tailframe games, with numerous quite nasty copy protection techniques, none of which have stood up to the efforts of the cracker community. But undoubtedly the most embarrassing example of Tailframe's attempts is the registration key system in Crocodracula the Beginning. Several checks are built into the game to detect a copy. If the first checksum fails, the game makes you enter the registration key when you try to unlock the bike. If the second checksum fails, you have to enter the key whenever you try to turn on the airboat, which becomes quite inconvenient if you're the type of player who roleplays by turning off the airboat engine when not in use. If the third checksum fails, you have to enter the key whenever you pass through the school basement door. Anytime you enter an invalid registration key, the game finds a clever way of sealing off further progression until you enter the correct key. Cutely, each key input point involves a key used in-game. This might be quite discouraging if the key weren't laughably easy to reverse engineer. The underlying code that stores and encrypts the key is tied to the random number generation routines, probably intending to randomly disguise the key if the player attempts a dump of the internal text. However, an unknown programmer's incompetence caused the registration key to be used as the seed value of the random number generator itself. Furthermore, the random number generator, doubtfully coded by the same programmer in charge of copy protection, uses a quite simple method to pick from different pieces of text, so the seed, and thus the registration key itself, can be deduced by simply looking around the game and taking careful notes. Digits 1 through 6. The first six digits control these details: the letters visible on the water tower, the painting in the house at the end of Ash Street, the type of item that Hank gives you, the name of the ghost, the solution to the swamp navigation puzzle, and the noises you hear on the sandy road. But these details are the same in every copy of the game because the first six digits of every registration key are 848275. 848275 equals TRK equals Tailframe registration key. I'm going to make a note of that. Our registration key is 848275. I thought I was typing that, but apparently my numlock was turned off. 848275 equals Tailframe registration key. Very good. Okay. Digit 7. The seventh digit of the key affects the wanted posters in the sheriff's station. There are 3 of them, and they always appear in the same order. Find the 3 that appear in your game on this list, and there's your key digit. Creepy Smile, 0 only. Boy Your Age, 0 or 1. Crazy Eyes, 0, 1 or 2. Brother and Sister, 1, 2 or 3. Shaved Head, 2, 3 or 4. Frog-like Features, 3, 4 or 5. elderly gentleman 4, 5, or 6, huge lips 5, 6, or 7, buzz cut 6, 7, or 8, mohawk 7, 8, or 9, a dog 8 or 9, top hat JM 9 only. Call Mark. Digit 8. The 8th digit determines the tapestry in the castle. Basically, the digit is divided by 4, then the quotient determines the person in the tapestry, and the remainder determines what they're doing. The boy with a sword appears in the code but can't show up in the game. More evidence that the programs were basically flying blind at this point. Pale woman, contemplating globe, 0, dour older woman, 1, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Digit 9, similar to digit 7. The 9th digit determines what items, all with no apparent gameplay purpose, you can find in the thrift shop. The game picks 4 items based on that digit, and each time you look at the shelves, it shows you one of those items. Their order of appearance is randomized too, possibly based on other digits in the registration key. You'll have to inspect the shelves several times to narrow down what the 9th digit is. Silver trophy, 0 only, lamps, 0 or 1, board games, 0, 1 or 2, cookbooks, 0, 1, 2 or 3, model boxcar, 1, 2, 3, 4, telephone, 2, 3, 4, 5, glass frog, 3, 4, 5, 6, crib, 4, 5, 6, 7. Viola case? Viola? I forget. 5, 6, 7, or 8. Novels, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Belt, 7, 8, or 9. Ceramic duck, 8 or 9. Paperweight, 9 only. Digit 10. Quite simple. The 10th digit just determines what kind of fish is mounted in the airboat rental shop. Barracuda, catfish, bass, marlin, red snapper, grouper, gar, bluegill, pickerel, bowfin. Digit 11. Not sure what the programmers were trying to do here. The chimes outside Miss Muriel's shack will jangle on a regular schedule, but they'll only jangle a certain number of times, which resets whenever you leave the location. Just waste time in the location and count how many times the jangling chime message prints before it stops. If it jangles 4 times, the 11th digit of the key is 4. If it never jangles, the 11th digit of the key is 0. So we've got, here's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So digit 12 is another weird one. The 12th digit is added to all the numbers on Miss Lipton's chalkboard. By default, the first number is 1 to 2, so subtract 1 to 2 from whatever number appears, and there you have it. Digit 13. The 13th digit determines the letter on Drew's baseball cap, although Zoe will be wearing it after you give it to her. So here's the letters. The full string in the code is Arnold J. Chive, probably an homage to Tailframe's president, Arnold J. Chive. Digit 14. This is the weird one. The 14th digit affects the sounds that play when you mess around with the black dial in the radio station. There are 9 different channels on the dial, but luckily you don't have to listen to all of them to determine the 14th digit of the registration key. If you use this dichotomous key, you can narrow it down by looking at only a few channels. Holy smokes. So we'll be going through that. Digit 15. The 15th digit determines the slogan on the sign outside the school. This one is slightly tricky because several of the slogans are basically identical. 0 is Go Marlins with an exclamation point, Chess Club cancelled, Go Marlins, Let's Go Marlins, Fight On Marlins, Go Marlins Go, Established 1972, Marlin Pride, Enjoy Your Weekend, and Go Marlins. Digit 16, the mannequin in the thrift shop window moves when you're not looking. Actually, it switches between 2 poses whenever you move far enough away from the thrift shop location. The 16th digit determines the 2 poses. It's hard to represent this one in a simple table, so follow these instructions. Note the 2 poses and the corresponding letters. Then find the line connecting those 2 letters in the pentagraph below. That line is marked with the 16th digit of your registration key. Okay. 17. The final digit of the registration key is a marker for the game version. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I need to add 1, 2, 3, 4 more digits. Okay, there's the full list. Okay, so first release title Crocodracula, second release changed to Crocodracula the Beginning. Third release, the easiest way to tell this apart from the second release is to refer to the airboat as a fan boat. In version 2, fan boat is not recognized as a synonym, but is added in this and all subsequent releases. Fourth release, the only difference between this release and the previous release is in the game manual, where, for this release, the price for a vocabulary deputy star was hiked up from $10 to $15. Okay, we closed out of the blog. Let's open that back up again. Okay. This is $15. We can see here, $15 to claim your prize. So, this is version 3 or later, or fourth release or later. Fifth release, the bug that allowed you to carry Calvin around was fixed here, among others. Final release, quite rare. This version added the option to play as either Becca or Zoe to give the game additional replay value. Aside from some text changes in the puzzle with Drew's baseball cap, the two characters play exactly the same. I'm betting it's one of these two, so we'll have to see if we can carry Calvin around. Okay, so that's the registration key puzzle that we're going to have to solve when we play Crocodracula: The Beginning. So let's get started. It is cut off a little bit on the left. Maybe let's go ahead and zoom in for a moment to see. Here is the big logo, and everything should still be visible, so that's fine. Okay, here we have Buchanan High School. You glance around to make sure you're alone. Zoe, you say quietly, can I talk to you about something? But Zoe doesn't seem to notice how serious you're being. Sure, she chirps. What's up? You look back and forth again across the schoolyard before you roll up your sleeve. See this? You say, showing Zoe your shoulder. She leans into to inspect, then leaps backward. Yikes! You've got scales! You yank your sleeve down and shush your friend. I know I've got scales, you hiss. Do you know how you got them? No. What should I do? Zoe shrugs, grimacing. I'm no dermatologist, she says, but I think you'd better ask Miss Muriel. You take a deep breath. You heave a deep sigh. I was afraid you'd say that. Crocodracula: The Beginning, a Tailframe game. Inform 7 port by Ryan Veeder. Release 1, serial number 901120. Inform 7 build 6M62. Inform 6, version 6.34, library 6/12 in SD. Buchanan High School. School is out for the day, but the doors remain open for various after-school activities. On the other end of the yard is a sign that says, Buchanan High, let's go Marlins, in big black letters. Your house is just a short walk to the east. Exits, north, east, west, and side. Your trusty bicycle is chained to a nearby bike rack. Zoe is sitting on a bench near the door. Okay, so, first off, on the other end of the yard is a sign that says Buchanan High, let's go Marlins. No exclamation point. So, we can say that nope, too far. It was further down. Okay, so this could be 0. No, probably not 0 because there's no exclamation point. So this could be 2. No. Let's go Marlin. Yes. It says Buchanan High, let's go Marlins with an apostrophe. The 15th digit determines the slogan on the sign outside the school. This one is slightly tricky because several of the slogans are basically identical. Let's go Marlins. It looks like it's number 3. So, we're going to go ahead and say digit 15 is number 3. Okay. Before we actually get started, I want to type about. About. Crocodracula: The Beginning, licensed by Tailframe, copyright Tailframe 1990, do not copy or redistribute. Ryan's note. Thank you for playing my port of Crocodracula: The Beginning. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any desire to contact me about this game, I would encourage you to indulge that desire by hitting me up via email, rcveeder@me.com, or via Twitter, @rcveeder. You can read more about the provenance of this game at this web address, which is the weblog I read through earlier. Big thanks are due to Harrison Gerard, whose expertise was essential when it came to scanning the game's feelies and related documents. Big thanks are also due to testers Zach Hodgins, Emily Bogheim, Lance Campbell, Harrison Gerard, Simon Carlos, and O. Blaufus. And of course, big thanks are due to all the Patreon supporters who made this port possible, listed here in, let's say reverse alphabetical order by first name. Zachary Dillon, Yerrick, Silent Phantom, Sarah Nerboso, Samuel Barawi, Robin Johnson, Robert Palutzian, Robert Eggleston, Rich Cheng, Rapscallion, Quolish, Q Fever, Paul Stanley, Nils Fagerberg, Michael Knowles, Matthew Zimmerman, Matt Schneider, Mark Vian, Mike Ziegler, Lance Campbell, Kenneth Hahn, Carl Ove Hoofdhammer, Josh LaBelle, Jordan J. Ish, Jenny Polodna, Janelle Marie, Jason McIntosh, Janice M. Eisen, Jacques Frichet, Ivan R., Harrison Gerard, Greg Frost, Grant Veeder, Evan Downey, Emily Short, Emily Bogheim, Eli Shoup, Doug Orleans, Derek Sotak, Dan Sanderson, Catherine O'Sullivan, Kat Manning, Carolyn Van Esseltine, Carl Muckenhaupt, and Alan Tan. Good grief, that's a lot of nice people. You can support my future games if you wish by pointing your web browser to patreon.com/rcveeder. The legal status of this port is kind of a gray area, but I won't tell anybody if you won't. Let's check our inventory. You're carrying nothing. Let's examine me. You are Rebecca Drapkin, a sophomore at Buchanan High School in Opasasa, Florida. You've led a perfectly ordinary life and grown up into a perfectly ordinary teenager. But now there are patches of scales growing on your shoulder and your shins, and they're getting bigger. Let's look once more. School is out for the day, but the doors remain open for various after-school activities. On the other end of the yard is a sign that says Buchanan High, Let's Go Marlins in big black letters. Your house is just a short walk to the east. Exits north, east, west, inside. Your trusty bicycle is chained to a nearby bike rack. Zoe is sitting on a bench near the door. Regarding my own history with this game, I have played through a little bit of the beginning of this, but I never got very far. I don't remember if this was one of the games that I read or watched a playthrough of, but I don't think I ever saw it finished. Basically, I have some rough idea of the overall shape of the game, but I've never gotten really into it myself. So this is mostly going to be a new experience for me. Let's examine Zoe. That's not Zoe. That's Joey. Zoe is your best friend. You tell each other everything. There's no one else you'd trust with the secret of your bizarre skin condition, except perhaps Miss Muriel. We try talking to her. Hey, Becca, is your brother home? I think so, yeah. Is he practicing his guitar? Most of the time, yes. Do you think if we sit here really quietly, we'll be able to hear it? I'm going to let you test that theory yourself. Let's try going into the school to try and find Miss Muriel. In, hallway. Between classes, this intersection is the busiest place in the school. Right now, the only people here are you and Jocelyn. You notice that the way downstairs has been left open by a careless custodian. Exits, east, west, down, outside. Jocelyn is hanging over the school's trophy case, oblivious to the outside world. Let's examine her. Jocelyn is not one of your favorite classmates. Actually, you detest her. But she detests you, too, so at least it doesn't have to be awkward. Normally the two of you would be sniping, or at least glaring at each other, but she's preoccupied with the contents of the trophy case. A large black sphere is cradled under her arm. That's odd. Let's examine the sphere. What's that ball thing, you ask, trying not to sound too interested. Jocelyn looks up from the trophy case and smirks. You've fallen into her trap. It's my science project, a star ball for a home planetarium. She turns a switch, and hundreds of tiny white lights appear across the surface of the sphere. An entire night sky is projected over the walls and ceiling. The effect is gorgeous and infuriating. You are speechless. I got an A on it, so now I'm taking it home to show off to my parents. But she isn't heading home. After she deactivates the star ball, she turns back to the trophy case. Let's examine the case. A glass case commemorating Buchanan High School's greatest achievements. There are trophies and plaques recognizing a mediocre football team, a mediocre chess club, and a better-than-average marching band. Jocelyn is staring at a photo of the marching band, and you know why. It's because Kyle is standing in the back row, with his sousaphone wrapped around his broad shoulders. Okay. Well, we have some elements of interest depicted here. Jocelyn is interested in Kyle, and Zoe is interested in our brother. Let's try going east to Miss Lipton's classroom. Miss Lipton is sitting at her desk wearing headphones attached to a small tape player. Her brow is furrowed. Behind her, the homework for the week is written on the blackboard. Calvin, the class guinea pig, lives in a cage near the window. Exits west. A large brass key looks out of place on Miss Lipton's desk. Let's examine Calvin. Calvin is having a little nap at the moment. Can we take Calvin? Calvin hates being picked up, especially when he's sleeping. Taken. You are carrying Calvin. Okay, so we can carry Calvin around in a way that does not appear to be deliberate. I cannot put Calvin... Cage? Calvin's cage could use some cleaning up, but that's not your job. Calvin in cage? That can't contain things. Okay, well, this does seem to be a bug, so let's go back to our guide. So we know it's after 3. It's 3 or later, but the bug that allowed you to carry Calvin around was fixed here. We can carry Calvin, so we know this digit is 3. That's digit 17. That's 3. Okay. 2 down. Several more to go. Let's take another look at this map briefly. See and do in Opasasa. 1. The Opasasa Water Tower. Gracing our skyline for over 50 years, our historic water tower is a registered state landmark. 2 is the KSAS radio. The KSAS radio station is no longer broadcasting, but its historic broadcasting tower still graces our skyline. State landmark status pending. Buchanan High School. So this is where we are. Home of the Fighting Marlins football team, the Thinking Marlins chess club, and the Marching Marlins marching band, which is the better than average one. Go Marlins. 4 is the sheriff's station. Misplaced your umbrella. Among his many other duties, Sheriff Harvey Dillard is in charge of the town's Lost and Found program. 5 is the Weeping Willow Diner. Opasasa may be Central Florida's best-kept secret, but Opasasa's best-kept secret is this little malt shop, a favorite hangout of locals. Qualmsley's airboat rental is 6. For scenic tours of the Opasasa Swamp, visit Paul Qualmsley's boathouse at the water's edge. Weeping Willow Diner. Corner of 1st, 6 Roundette, 8 Roundette? I don't know. Okay. So this is a rough grid, it looks like. Hank's Auto is here. Creepy Tree blocks passage between these two areas. Cemetery. Piano teacher. Drapkin House. Okay, well, good references. Let's examine Miss Lipton. When she sees you looking at her, Miss Lipton smiles and waves, just so you know it's not you she's frowning about. But she goes right back to frowning. Can we examine the board? Your assignment for Monday is to read pages 107 through 140, then answer questions 18, 19, and 21. This is all circled under a do not erase note to the janitor. Can we examine the headphones? Miss Lipton's headphones are just as cheap as the ones you can afford. Oh, fair enough. Can we talk to Miss Lipton? Miss Lipton removes her headphones and presses the pause button on her cassette player. Hi, Becca. Is there something I can help you with? No, you say. You don't want Miss Lipton to get involved with the stuff going on in your life. I was just wondering what you were listening to. She puckers her lips. Relaxation tape, she says, but it's not working. Ocean waves, rainforests, nothing I listen to works. I just end up thinking about how stressed I am. Sorry about that. Thanks, Becca. Well, I'll keep trying anyway. She puts her headphones back on. And now let's go west. Let's try going west from here to Mr. Sarducci's classroom. The chemistry room contains 2 long rows of lab tables, wiped clean after each experiment under Mr. Sarducci's unsparing supervision. Exits east. Mr. Sarducci leans over his desk, drumming his fingers impatiently on the Formica countertop. Let's examine Mr. Sarducci. Mr. Sarducci always wears a white shirt and a black necktie. He always wears a creepy mustache, too. Let's talk to him. Calvin doesn't respond. Talk to Mr. Sarducci. Mr. Sarducci, you say, in your cheeriest, most winsome voice you can muster. Do you think I could get my bike key back? Do I think? Let's see. He pulls out his gradebook and makes a show of inspecting its contents. Ah, yes, Rebecca Drapkin. It says here that you have yet to turn in your group project. But I don't have it. Zoe has to finish her part before we can turn it in. Well, then, if I were you, I would enjoin Zoe to finish her part so that you can turn it in. Until I have your assignment, I will take excellent care of your bicycle key. There is no way the school should allow Sarducci to coerce his students like this, but he's gotten away with it before. From my recollection of prior exposure to this game, I feel like the bolded words are important, so based on this hunch, I'm going to write down coerce in my notes. And let's examine the lab tables. They look a bit more scientific than the tables elsewhere in the school. Well, fair enough. I think that's everything here. Let's go east. Back to the hallway. Can we go down to the basement? Mechanical humming fills the tiny room at the bottom of the stairs. The walls and floor are bare concrete. A single fluorescent light sputters overhead. Exits west and up. A heavy steel door stands to the west. Examine the light. Every time the light goes out, the room goes black, but then the light comes back on. Light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. Examine the door. There's a small window set in the door, but you can't see anything on the other side. Open the door. You pull on the handle. The door is locked. Something squeaks on the other side. Or was that someone's voice? You tilt your head, but all you hear is the light flickering and distant machines buzzing. If we try to touch the door, it's best not to go around touching things. Well, fair enough. Let us go up. And outside. Show Calvin to Zoe. Zoe looks at Calvin. What's that for? She asks. I was hoping you could tell me. She shrugs. Yeah, that seems like generic showing text that is, again, indicating that Calvin is not intended to be something you can carry around. Let's ask Zoe about project. Talk to Zoe. Hey, Zoe, have you finished your side of our chemistry? Shh. Do you hear that? I think I can hear your brother's guitar. I doubt that. Our house is all the way over there. But Zoe is swaying back and forth to the music she thinks she hears. You're so lucky, Becca. Your brother is the coolest. I don't usually see it that way. But about our assignment, we need to turn it in, like now. Does he smell nice? You grit your teeth. Is there no way to make this girl focus? I guess we should find our house and see if we can get our brother to, like, talk to Zoe or something. If I'm remembering right from our map, front of the map, the Drapkin house should be east from the school. So, let's go look. And yes, we need to go east. Your house is just a short walk to the east. Let's examine our bicycle before we go. Your bicycle is awkwardly attached to the bike rack with a chain and padlock. Okay. East, 2. Becca's house. A stucco wall hems in the wilderness of trees and other plant life that surrounds the Drapkin residence. Exits, west. Inside. Your little sister Lindsay ambles up to you. Here's another bold word. Ambles. Hey, Becca. Want to see something? You shrug. I guess? She produces a shoebox from behind her back. Open it. You open it. Inside is a huge green beetle scuttling over a pile of leaves and twigs, wiggling its horrible little legs. You shriek and drop the box. Lindsay giggles as she recollects the box and its lid, keeping the horrible creature in its cardboard prison. Scared you. You manage to stop yourself from strangling your sister. Why would you do that, you little monster? 'Cause it's funny, she explains through a gap-toothed smile. You take a deep breath. I am not typing in the window. Let's type in the window. We examine Lindsay. You remember when Lindsay was just a baby. Over the years, she's grown up into a demonic force of chaos. If life were fair, the two of you girls would be allied against your older brother. But the sad truth is, it's the middle children against the world. Can we talk to Lindsay? Hey, Becca, you want to look in my box again? Is that disgusting beetle still in it? Maybe. Then I'm afraid I have to decline your invitation. All right, well, let's go inside here to the living room. The walls of the living room are lined with dolls, your mother's unsettling handiwork. Your bedroom is upstairs. Exits outside. Your brother is sitting on the carpet, even though the couch is right there, strumming the same 3 chords over and over on his guitar. We examine our brother. To you, your brother Drew looks like the archetypical boy, utterly normal and uninteresting. You have no idea what Zoe sees in him. You also can't figure out why he's wearing a baseball cap indoors. Oh, we need to examine the cap. The cap has the letter A embroidered on it. Okay. Here we have the letter A on the baseball cap. That digit 13 should be 0. Okay, there's another digit down. Oh, shoot, we forgot to look at the numbers on Miss Lipton's chalkboard. Or did we? We looked at the chalkboard. Let's scroll back up. Oh, we didn't get to it in time. I need to go back. Let's go outside, west, in, east. Okay. So, this says the 12th digit is added to all of the numbers on Miss Lipton's chalkboard. By default, the first number is 102. Subtract 102 from whatever number appears, and there you have it. I'm not sure I follow this. The 12th digit is added to all the numbers on Miss Lipton's chalkboard. So there's a number that is between 102 and 111. And so the numbers that appear, pages 107 through 140, then answer questions 18, 19, and 21. So the reason I'm confused by this is the way this is worded, the 12th digit is added to all the numbers. So that makes me think I need to add the numbers on the chalkboard up and then subtract 102. But that doesn't make sense because the numbers are greater than, like, if we're trying to read pages 107 through 140. Like, if it's just 107, we take 107 minus 102, that means the digit is 5. And so, since the rest of this seems kind of ambiguous, I'm going to assume it's 5. So that is added to all the numbers. Yeah, because every other number that appears is either too much or too little, or when added together will be too much overall to have 102 subtracted. So it's 5, it's the 12th digit. So it's this one. Here is 5. Okay, very good. Let's continue. We go out to the west, and out, and east, in, and talk to Drew. You can tell from his strumming that he's in a mood. Hey, Drew, what's wrong? He sighs. Hey, Becca, I can't find my guitar pick. Don't you have more than one? I mean my favorite pick, the one that Stevie Ray Vaughan tossed to me from the stage. He strums the saddest chord in the world. My other picks don't play the same. You put on a commiserating frown, but secretly you know exactly where that pick is. Do we now? Well, let's examine the dolls before we go anywhere. At least a dozen porcelain dolls are on display here, and there are more in the rest of the house. Your mom seems to find joy only in crafting more and more of them. Each doll has a hand-painted face, staring eerily across the room. Each doll's hands are reaching out at nothing. Each doll has a name, most of which you have mercifully forgotten. Let's go up. Becca's room. Your bedroom. Your undisturbed refuge. Even when the whole world is out to get you, you can always run back to your room, where at last you can enjoy peace and quiet. But you can still hear your brother playing the guitar downstairs. A small army of stuffed animals is carefully arranged at the head of your bed. Your viola is collecting dust on top of your dresser. We examine it. Your viola and bow have become mostly decorative ever since your mom stopped making you take lessons. And they're very nice decorations, too. Can we play it? You pick up the viola and bow. You place the instrument on your collarbone and waggle your chin until everything's in place. You try to remember something from your lessons. Anything at all. Nothing comes to you, so you draw the bow over a random string and play a long, low note. Drew suddenly stops playing his guitar downstairs. You raise your bow, mortified. Silence reigns in Drapkin House for a moment. Then Drew returns to his guitar, and you put the viola back on your dresser. Let's look in viola. You find nothing of interest. Let's examine the bed. A pink and green quilt is spread over your bed. Mom says it was sewn by your great-grandma. Let's look at stuffed animals. Some might say you're too old for stuffed animals, but you've come to the conclusion that, in fact, you are old enough to decorate your bedroom however you want. Most of the creatures are just here because they look nice. Wanda Elephant, Harold Lamb, James Frog, etc. But Peggy Pony has special sentimental value. Let's look at Peggy Pony. You've had Peggy Pony since you were too little to pronounce the words Peggy Pony correctly, and you'll cherish her until the day she finally falls apart. She's already looking pretty threadbare. We can examine the other ones, I suspect. Wanda Elephant. Wanda Elephant is a fuzzy pink elephant. She really looks like a Wanda. Harold Lamb. Everyone who sees him assumes Harold Lamb is a girl lamb, and you can't exactly blame them. James Frog. James Frog is a fuzzy green frog with a big dopey smile. Can we search the animals? Nothing of interest. Let's look once more. Okay. Let's look under the bed. Nothing of interest. Let's examine the dresser. A fairly cute little dresser, if perhaps too small to meet the needs of a well-dressed high schooler. Mostly it's stuffed with clothes, but sometimes you keep certain interesting items in the top drawer. Interesting. Open the top drawer. You open up the top drawer of your dresser. Inside are your diary, a letter from your pen pal, and Drew's guitar pick. If we examine the diary, the pages of your diary are almost completely blank. Until very recently, nothing interesting had ever happened to you. The only entry is from September, and it just says that sophomore year is shaping up to be just like freshman year. Let's examine the letter. It's a letter from Gosimangquina, your pen pal in Botswana. Everyone in Miss Lipton's class was assigned an international pen pal at the beginning of the semester. In tiny and precise handwriting, covering a full page front and back, Gosimang describes his life in Molapolido, I should not have tried to pronounce that, and how his father's standing in the community is dependent upon the status of his cattle. You should really get around to writing him back, but later. And it does look like you did. Here. Let's go back. Let's examine the pick. This is Drew's favorite pick. You can't remember why you hid it from him, but it stands to reason that he deserved it. But it may be time to bury the hatchet. Let's take it. Let's go down. Let's give pick to Drew. Hey, Drew, I found your guitar pick. Drew stops strumming. It's as if he's woken out of a dream. Yeah? Where was it? You toss it to him. It was in my room for some reason. Weird. Well, thanks. He starts to pick out a melody to match the chords he's been strumming for the past several hours. Drew? Yeah? He doesn't stop playing. Could I maybe borrow that baseball cap? What? Sure. He hands it over, eager to focus on his music. Here's the cap again. The cap has the letter A embroidered on it. Drew has plenty of baseball caps. He won't miss this one. So, I guess I know what we're doing with this. Let's go out. And back to the west. And let's give cap to Zoe. Hey, Zoe, I've got something for you. Zoe snaps out of her reverie. Is that Drew's hat? Well, he didn't need it, and I thought you might like it. She utters a tiny gasp as she accepts the gift. She presses it to her chest. Then she looks at you, frowning. I'm not being weird, am I? You don't roll your eyes. No, it's just a hat. Right. It's just a hat. It happens to be a hat that Drew used to have, and now it belongs to me. She puts on the hat, pulling her ponytail out the back. See? It keeps the sun out of my eyes. Nothing's weird. Great. Do you have our chemistry assignment? Of course I do. She pulls it out of her bag and hands it to you. Could you turn it in for us? I'd be happy to. All right, so let's go in and west. And let's examine this assignment. A 10-page report about carbon bonds. You stayed up until 2 a.m. writing your part, and now you never want to see another carbon bond for the rest of your life. You just hope Zoe put anywhere near as much effort into her half. Give assignment to Mr. Sarducci. Here's our assignment, Mr. Sarducci. Ah, at long last, he says, plucking the papers from your hand. He glances over your work. His nostrils flare slightly. I anticipate that grading this piece of scholarship will be a very, shall we say, memorable experience, he mutters, and he sticks it in a drawer. Now, don't be impatient, he goes on, although you haven't said anything. I will well remember what promises I was forced to make to compel you to fulfill your academic duty. Here you are. He tosses your bike key across the desk, and you manage to catch it. We examine the bike key. It's a tiny steel key. Now, if the documents we have uncovered are any indication, we are going to need the full product key to be able to use this. And we have only answered 4 of the missing digits. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 digits to solve. So we should probably make that our next priority. So let's look at what's next. Okay, so the first 6 digits are the same. Digit 7, the wanted posters in the sheriff's station. Let's go to the sheriff's station. That is west. If we go north and then west twice, we can get to the sheriff's station. So let's go east, out. Let's go north. Miss Muriel's house is too far to reach on foot. First things first, you need to liberate your bicycle. Oh, can we go west? Nope. Okay. Unlock. Let's examine the bicycle. Examine the padlock. Simple chain with a cheap padlock. It's pretty pitiful as bike chains go. Then again, you'd be riding your bike right now if it weren't for this chain, so it must be doing its job. You're carrying your bike key. Unlock padlock with bike key. At long last, you release your bicycle from its manacles. Then you decide not to worry about bike chains and bike keys for a while. Manacles. I have recorded manacles. Okay. Ride bike north. Ride bicycle. You mount the bicycle. North. You pedal up the road and begin your trek to Miss Muriel's. I know a point of pronunciation. Oftentimes people pronounce this name Muriel. Personally, I had a grandmother whose name was Muriel, but she always pronounced it, and the rest of my family always pronounced it Muriel, thus my pronunciation. I'm just going to stick with what I'm familiar with. So, you pedal up the road and begin your trek to Miss Muriel's. Azalea Street, on the bicycle. Azalea Street turns 90 degrees at the top of what passes for a hill in central Florida. The house on the outside of the curve has a sign posted outside. It's also the studio of Professor Rubach, the piano teacher. Exits. South, west, inside. Eddie Lee is sitting on the sidewalk, plunking out a classical tune on a portable keyboard. Let's check him out. We examine Eddie Lee. With his Hawaiian shirt and unfortunate lack of a hairstyle, Eddie Lee looks like a gangly teenage Thomas Magnum. If you filled out the shirt a little better, he might actually look kind of cool. But the toy keyboard he's toting makes it clear. Eddie Lee is just a huge geek. We can talk to him. Talk to Eddie Lee. Against your better judgment, you approach Eddie Lee. Hey, Becca, where's Zoe? You think Zoe would thank you not to reveal her whereabouts, so you dodge the question. Hey, Eddie Lee, why aren't you in the piano studio? Professor Rubach said my time was up for today. So why isn't Zoe with you? Sorry, Eddie, I've got to get going. So I guess we should not stick around then. Let's go west. To the water tower, on the bicycle. At the center of Opasasa is its water tower, a massive white bulb supported by a web of steel beams. Giant letters are printed on the side. From as far away as Glenburn, you can see them spell out Opasasa. From right underneath, though, they barely look like letters. A narrow ladder is well hidden among the bars. Well, that seems like an invitation. Let's examine the ladder. You and Zoe have climbed up to the top of the water tower before. It's not that scary, so let's go up. You take a deep breath and begin your ascent. On top of the water tower, on the bicycle. Oh, that's wrong. A narrow catwalk circles the bulb of the tower. Beneath you in every direction are the streets of Opasasa. On the north edge of town is a dense forest. To the south is the swamp. Exits down. A man in a top hat and bow tie is here, leaning against the bulb, looking down on the city. We examine the man. He's dressed like a magician, and he has a magician's calculated nonchalance. He smiles as if he's been expecting you. "Good afternoon, young miss. My card." A cream-colored card appears between his fingers. He hands it to you. "You may call me J.M. I'm visiting your little burg, hoping to add to my collection. You see, I have it on good authority that at some point today you'll find a 16th century sword about this size." He holds his hands a sword's length apart. "Since it has been abandoned by its owner, and a friendly young lady like yourself has no use for such a thing, I hope that once you retrieve it, you'll return here and give it to me. I can promise that you'll be duly rewarded." You don't know what to say except, okay. Let's talk to J.M. "Mr. J.M.? Yes? What was it you wanted me to find again?" He rolls his eyes. "A sword. A very old sword. You don't have to worry about it, my dear. I know for a fact that you'll find it eventually." That's not a verb I recognize. Caused because I abbreviated his name with J.M. So the interpreter thinks I'm trying to do two commands, talk to J and M. M is not a viable verb. Let's examine the forest. Somewhere among all those trees is Miss Muriel's house. Can we examine the swamp? The Opasasa swamp is full of secrets. Let's examine the streets. You recognize some of the buildings, mostly the high school, but you can't see your house. Let's go back down. And let's continue west. Outside the sheriff's station, on the bicycle. Stout concrete columns flank the station's entrance. Sheriff Dillard's squad car is parked outside. If we examine the car is painted in a bluish gray that would fade into the cloudy sky if it weren't for the intimidating rack of lights on top. On the side is a white lion, the emblem of the police department. The license plate says Dillard, though it omits the I. Let's examine these columns that were so prominently mentioned. The columns sort of look like prison bars. Let's go in. You can't ride your bike in there. Oh, now we can make demands of that sort. Let's dismount. You dismount the bicycle outside the sheriff's station. I wonder, does this game have a help system? Let's see. Help. If you're new to the text adventure medium and you're having trouble just getting the game to understand what you want to do, I think you should check out Brian Rushton's tutorial game, 77 Verbs, which exists online at the following web address. If you're having trouble with something specific to this game, try talking to one of Becca's friends. I wonder if that's contextual. Does him do the same thing? Yeah, okay. We might try this later on, but for now, let's continue inside to the sheriff's station. A portrait of the president smiles at you welcomingly from across the lobby, above a carefully organized bulletin board. It doesn't feel like you're standing in the nerve center of Opasasa law enforcement. Most rooms back at the high school are more intimidating than this. There's even wall-to-wall carpeting in here. Exits outside. Sheriff Dillard is sitting uneasily in his easy chair, twiddling his thumbs in minor agitation. We examine the sheriff. Sheriff Dillard looks uneasy, like he forgot some homework. But he doesn't have to do homework. He's an adult. Let's talk to the sheriff. Hey, Sheriff, what's wrong? Oh, nothing's wrong, Becca. I just wish I had something to do. Don't you usually do a crossword puzzle when you're waiting for police work? Yeah, but I did today's crossword. I did every crossword in every paper published in this town going back 5 or 6 months. I solved them all. I am fresh out of puzzles. Aw, I'm sorry to hear that, you say, although you kind of wish you were in his shoes. Okay, there should be a wanted poster in here. Let's examine the bulletin board. The sheriff lets community members post all kinds of notices on this notice board. His secretary is obsessed with keeping it tidy. Across the top is a row of wanted posters. Beneath that, there are ads for piano lessons from Professor Rubach, cleaning services from Vivian, and something called Self-Wakening, followed by a poster about a lost cat. Hey, this all sounds very familiar. It sounds like this. This is the bulletin board. Self-awakening. Unfulfilled, incomplete, wondering, call for a free consultation. Piano lessons. Professor W. Rubach. Instructor of piano, University of Krakow. Phone 555-8972. Advertising pays. Phone 555-8711. Open house, Saturday, October 22, Sunday, October 23, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., 244th Street. Call 555-2457. Janet Van Schlip, Opasasa Realtor. Cleaning by Vivian. Home, office, other, 555-5151. Cool. Wait. This is not the same. There's a row of wanted posters, ads for piano lessons, cleaning services, and something called self-awakening, followed by a poster about a lost cat. There is no lost cat on here. Let's examine lost cat. The poster describes a gray and white tabby named Omar who's gone missing. There is a phone number and a promise of a reward. The top of the poster has numerous pinholes poked in it, which you take to mean the sign has been taken down and reposted multiple times. Oh, Omar, how do you get up to such trouble? Let's examine wanted posters. You look across the posters. There's an elderly gentleman whom you almost recognize, a man with huge lips who seems very upset about something, and a man with a buzz cut wearing a butcher's apron. So, if we cross-reference this with our guide, elderly gentleman is 4, 5, or 6. Huge lips is 5, 6, or 7, which suggests 5 or 6. And elderly gentleman, huge lips. And buzz cut. 6, 7, or 8. So it's got to be 6, since it's these 3. So this digit is 6. That was digit 7. Digit 8. The 8th digit determines the tapestry in the castle. Basically, the digit is divided by 4. Then the quotient determines the person in the tapestry, and the remainder determines what they're doing. The boy with a sword appears in the code, but can't show up in the game. Okay, so this, we have to be in the castle for this. Let's see if there's anything else in town. What items can be found in the thrift shop? Thrift shop. Okay. Where is the thrift shop? I think we don't need this. And having seen this, I don't know what more benefit we get here, so let's stick with what's useful. Piano teacher, cemetery. Hank's Auto. Thrift store is north twice from here. Okay. We can close this. Yeah, very good. Okay. Look. Let's go back out. Ride bike. Let's go north. The Weeping Willow on the bicycle. The neon sign is dark. The Weeping Willow is closed for the day. Its namesake rustles slightly in the wind. Exits north, east, south. Kyle is here, working on his gremlin. We'll examine Kyle. You try to admire Kyle surreptitiously. His dimpled chin, his slicked back hair, his arms. The way he looks up and waves. As you try to convince your arm to wave back, you notice you've been holding your breath. So you have to figure out how to sigh deeply and wave your hand at the same time and look totally natural doing it, and the effort almost defeats you. Well, this could be a disaster, but let's try to talk to Kyle. You take a deep breath before you approach him. Hey, Kyle, you say. What you working on? I'm giving the old bird a complete overhaul, he says. He calls the gremlin his old bird because of its swooping eagle hood ornament. Your brother and I might take her to a drag race this weekend. That's so cool, you say. You have to steer the conversation away from your brother. What kinds of modification are you making? Well, I replaced the manifold, he says, pointing to a part that looks like all the other parts. And I realigned the distributor, and I adjusted some of the solenoids that were misbehaving. But she needs something else. She needs some extra oomph, or we're not going to make much of a splash at that race. He stares down into the heart of his car and pulls out a towel to wipe the sweat from his brow. Oh, to be young and embroiled in the throes of a crush. Let's examine the car. Kyle's powder blue gremlin. A magnificent machine. The little chrome eagle on the hood is perpetually swooping down upon the future. Kyle has the hood up at the moment so that he may inspect its mystifying innards. Well, I'm sure we'll be back, but let's go north for now. 2. Outside the thrift store on the bicycle. A mannequin in a threadbare dress stares out from a yellowed window, its hand on its hip. The front door is propped open with a brick. Okay, so this is one thing. So, mannequin, hand on hip. We'll have to see if this changes when we come back here later. Let's go inside. Oh, dismount inside. Cadaverous. There's a good word. Cadaverous. Let's... Okay, thrift store. From outside, the window make everything in here look yellow. Inside, the fluorescent lights cast everything in a cadaverous blue-white. Long shelves are filled to capacity with junk. A dented cabinet is displayed near the counter. Exits outside. Behind that counter sits Hazel, loudly chewing a huge wad of gum. I examine Hazel. Hazel is about your age, but the two of you don't hang out much. She's a bit too bossy, and her fashion sense is hard to deal with, like those cat's eye glasses she wears all the time. Interesting. We'll talk to her. Hi, Hazel. Hey, Becca. You looking for anything in particular? No, just browsing, you say. Hazel responds by popping her gum loudly. Speaking of browsing, we need to check out that shelf? The shelves. You notice the belt you donated last year is still here? So much stuff here, and none of it is useful. One shelf is stuffed to capacity with cheap romance novels. On the top shelf is a ceramic duck that someone did a poor job of gluing back together. There's the belt again. There's the duck again. Belt, duck, romance novels. You peer into a glass paperweight and see an astrological symbol you dimly recognize. Okay, so duck, belt, romance novels, paperweight. Novels are 6, 7, 8, or 9. Belt is 7, 8, or 9. Duck is 8 or 9, and paperweight is 9 only. So this digit number 9, is in fact 9. Hey, kitty. Okay. The 10th digit is in the airboat rental shop. Before we do that, let's look again. Let's check out this cabinet. Hazel notices your gaze and steps between you and the cabinet. I'm going to tell you a secret, Becky. This cabinet came from the particle physics department up at the university. It got exposed to rays, and now it has powers. Powers, you say, trying not to betray anything with your tone or expression. I don't know how it works. I'm not a quantum scientist, but I know what it does. Anything you put inside this cabinet will go back in time by about 3 weeks. You squint at the cabinet. It seems perfectly normal. I'm not messing with you. For instance, let's say you have a moldy loaf of bread. Put it in here, close the door, open it again, and the bread won't be moldy anymore? Hazel shakes her head. No. It'll turn back into flour and eggs and stuff, unless the bread was already more than 3 weeks old. I get it, you say, nodding, but you can tell Hazel isn't convinced that you're convinced. Let's see. We'd never examined this business card. The initials JM are written in silver ink on the front. The back is blank. Well, That seems potentially useful if we need to make something less old. Let's ride our bike. Where are we going? We need to go to the 10th digit, which is at the airboat rental shop, which is here. So if we go east and then south 2, we go south once, east once, and then south twice, we should be there. Okay. So we can't go east here. Can't go that way. Available exits are south and inside. We go south. Let's examine the sign. The name of the diner is spelled out in Baroque neon curlicues, but it's not lit up at the moment. Which do you mean, the diner or the tree? The willow seems especially mournful when the diner is nearly abandoned. What about the diner? Through the windows, you can see chairs stacked on tables. It's dark in there. We go east to the radio station. Vines are creeping up the walls of the squat little KSAS building, almost reaching the boarded-up windows. The radio tower stretches overhead, its lower bars covered in rust. We go north, south, east, west, or inside. I want to go south, but first let's go north to see Sandy Road on the bicycle. A strip of dirty sand cuts through the woods. There's nothing but trees in every direction. Exits north and south. Warm wind shakes the leaves. We can go north to Miss Muriel's house. Okay, yes. Miss Muriel's cabin on the bicycle. The road fades into grass and weeds as it reaches this lonely cabin in the heart of the woods. At the side of the building is an overgrown bed of flowers. A set of tarnished wind chimes hangs over the entrance. Exits south and inside. Oh, right. The wind chimes are meaningful. Let's wait. Time passes. A breeze blows through the wind chimes, and an unmusical jangling echoes through the trees. Again? Second time? A third time? A fourth time? A fifth time? A sixth time? A seventh time? An eighth time? A ninth time? So 9 times the chimes echo. The chimes outside Miss Muriel's shack will jangle on a regular schedule, but they'll only jangle a certain number of times, which resets when you leave the location. So, if it jangles 4 times, the 11th digit of the key is 4. Since it was 9, the 11th digit is 9. Okay. Dismount. Let's examine the bed of flowers. You lean over to inspect the flowers. Many of them are obviously not from around here, but you recognize a few of them from your wilderness survival training. Lantana, nightshade, hemlock. You take a couple steps back. Let's examine the wind chimes. The metallic chimes are all odd shapes, which might be why they make such odd noises. If we examine the building, a ramshackle residence with no street address and no mail slot. It's hard to imagine Miss Muriel building it herself, but it's just as hard to imagine who could have lived here before she did. Let's go in. Miss Muriel's workshop. The musty air is thick with the hissing and bubbling of strange concoctions. The oddest things hang from the walls. Faceless dolls, strings of beads, dried herbs, and a couple of bleached cow skulls. It looks like every available surface is occupied by some half-finished arcane project. At the center of the chaos is Miss Muriel's big book. Exits outside. As you enter, Muriel looks up from her studies. Good afternoon, Becca. To what do I owe this pleasure? You wonder how you're going to tell her. Can we just talk to her about it? We examine her. Her hair is frizzy and unkempt. Her frayed denim jacket is covered in stains from her various experiments. She likes to call herself a student of nature. There's another word for someone who follows her sort of lifestyle, but Miss Muriel does not like that word. We talk to her. You take a deep breath and settle yourself. Miss Muriel deals with weird things like this all the time. There's something on my skin, you say, and you pull up your sleeve to reveal the scales on your shoulder. Muriel gives it a look and clicks her tongue. Did you show it to a doctor? No. Should I have? Well, there wouldn't be much point. This isn't a medical condition. It's a curse. The word isn't as surprising as it should be. Maybe this is what you expected all along. How? Who cursed me? There's a creature that makes its home in this swamp. Muriel shuffles through her tome until she finds a drawing. A hunched human shape with a snout full of teeth. Have you heard of Crocodracula? Yeah, we told each other stories about him when we were little kids. He's not real. He's very real, Rebecca, and he's marked you for some purpose. He must want something from you. Miss Muriel trails off as she starts poking around the cabin, looking for something. What do I do? How do I get rid of the curse? I don't want to do anything for Crocodracula. Well, you'll have to destroy him. Here. She finds a sharpened wooden stake in a corner and hands it to you. Find his castle in the swamp and put this through his heart. Your mouth hangs open as you contemplate the stake. I don't know if I can do that. Sure you can. You'll have the element of surprise. I have complete faith in you, Becca. Well, let's examine the stake. You briefly wonder why Miss Muriel had a wooden stake in her cabin, but soon you conclude that, for Miss Muriel, it makes a lot of sense. Can we talk to her again? You ask Miss Muriel how to get to Crocodracula's castle. You'll need an airboat to go that deep into the swamp. I know Mr. Qualmsley rents airboats, but you might have to pursue unofficial methods to acquire one. All right, fair enough. Let's examine these concoctions. There are flasks and bottles and vials all over, each with a different potion being mixed or boiled or decanted. You try not to look directly at the toothy skulls. Let's look at the book. Miss Muriel pulls the book away from your prying eyes and purses her lips disapprovingly. Okay, well. Let's go outside. And ride a bike south. And south to the radio station. Let's dismount here and go in. It's pitch dark and you can't see a thing. Okay, let's go out. Ride bike. We go south again to the water tower. And south once more to the water's edge on the bicycle. Eddie Lee's dad's airboat rental business is situated here at the edge of the Opasasa swamp. A gravel path connects the buildings to the dock. The front door is guarded by a motionless plaster alligator. Exits north, south, east, west are inside. An airboat is floating at the dock. I examine the airboat. One of Mr. Qualmsley's rental boats, a flat-bottomed hull with an engine attached to a huge fan on the back. Does fan boat work? It does. Well, we already knew that digit anyway, so it's not really relevant. Let's go in. Let's dismount and go in to the boathouse. The AC is cranked so high that you begin to shiver. Mr. Qualmsley doesn't seem to notice. He just sits at the cash register, waiting for quitting time to roll around. An unfortunate fish is mounted on a plaque on the far wall. Exits outside. An airboat key is hanging on a hook behind the counter. We examine the fish, a confused-looking grouper, gutted and shellacked. Okay. I think I understand digit 12 now. So that every number on the chalkboard is higher than it would be normally by the value of that digit. So we said digit was 5, so the first digit was 107. You know it's 5 was added to it, so because it was actually 102. So the first digit is 107. The second digit is 5 higher than what it's supposed to be normally, and every other digit is 5 higher than it's supposed to be. So I didn't read it that way the first time around, but now it makes sense to me. So that's good. We need the fish. Grouper is another 5. Okay, digit 10 is 5. Making good progress here. Let's see what digit 14 is. This is the weird one. The 14th digit affects the sounds that play when you mess around with the black dial in the radio station, which is dark and we can't see. Okay. We need to look at digit 16 instead. Right, the thrift shop. Let's go back there. Ride bike. North, west, north, north. Examine mannequin. Looks over its shoulder. The mannequin has no face, but it does have a little bit of attitude. The discolored window makes its clothes look dirty and its skin jaundiced. Jaundiced. So hand on hip, over shoulder. Okay. Hand on hip is A here. Over shoulder is E. So these two, so it's 3. That's digit 16 is 3. So we've just got 8 and 14 left. So once again, digit 8 is the castle. Digit 14, sounds in the radio station. Okay. So we are kind of running into a dead end here. Let's continue exploring the map then. We've been up that way. Been to the thrift store. We have been to the Weeping Willow Diner. The radio station. We've not been to Hank's Auto, though. Let's try that. Let's go east. Oh, can't go that way. We got to go south first. East here to the radio station. East here to the salvage yard. The junkyard is surrounded by tall walls of rusty sheet metal. A little booth sits at the entrance. Inside are long rows of disintegrating cars and occasional unidentifiable debris. Exits west. Hank is slumped over the sill of his booth, struggling to keep both eyes open. I examine Hank. As far as you can tell, Hank's only job is to guard his salvage yard from intruders. The trouble is, he tends to be sleeping on the job most of the time. Right now, it looks like he's just dozing, which is really a best-case scenario for him. Examine the cars. From outside, you can only see a fraction of Hank's massive collection of refuse. None of it looks valuable or even interesting. Can we go inside? As you move past the booth, Hank snaps at you. This ain't no place for little girls, Mr. Apkin. You back off. We try talking to Hank. Hank? Hello? Hank looks up from the ground and shakes his shaggy head. Oh, hey, Rebecca. Sorry, His eyes close, and he returns to his original position. He needs coffee, or something like that. So, nothing here. Let's go back to the west. Let's go south to the water tower. East to Azalea Street. Professor Rubach. Okay. Dismount. Inside. Studio. The carpet in here is so nice, you wonder if you were supposed to take off your shoes. Well, too late now. Most of Professor Rubach's living room is taken up by a gleaming baby grand piano. 2 paintings hang on the wall. On the left, a gambling fawn. On the right, a stern portrait. We have a fawn. I can delete my note about the mannequin now that we have that digit. Okay, Professor Rubach, let's examine him. The professor is built like a Mack truck, and it's hard to believe his huge fingers are any use on the delicate keys of a piano. But his face is warm and friendly to match the coziness of his little studio. Talk to Rubach. Hey, Professor. Hello, Rebecca. Are you interested at all in taking piano lessons? That should have been a Russian accent, but I'm not much of one for accents, unfortunately. Not at the moment. I just wanted to know how Eddie Lee is doing. He's doing very well, I must say. He has a natural talent for the instrument and an admirable devotion to musicianship. That's great to hear, you say, although you'd like to add, are you sure you mean Eddie Lee? Let's examine these paintings. Fawn, a goat-legged man is hopping through the forest playing a pan flute. A smear of pink paint in the background might be someone chasing after him. And the portrait? A man with sunken eyes and a pointed beard glares off to the side, perpetually unimpressed with whatever's happening beneath him. And the piano itself? The piano seems like it should be impossible to play. So many different keys. They can't all be completely necessary. The carpet? Plush beige carpeting seems to extend through the whole house. Similar to the house I grew up in. Let's go outside. Okay, so Eddie Lee is interested in Zoe. Let's go ride our bike. Let's go south. Our house is to the east. Let's go west to the airboat. Let's examine its alligator. It's just a lawn decoration and not very realistically sculpted. The expression is either sleepy or devious, depending on which eye you're looking at. And the path, a bunch of pale rocks, and the dock. A weathered wooden dock juts out into the swamp. The airboat is parked next to it. And the airboat. A flat-bottomed hull with an engine attached to a huge fan on the back. Right, we did that already. Let's look at the building. Can't see anything like that in the immediate vicinity. Oh, should it be... Oh, no description of the building. Let's just go in. Dismount in. Right, the boathouse. Let's examine Mr. Qualmsley. There's a sort of blank look of contentment on his face. Mr. Qualmsley is not a complicated man, and today he is even less complicated than usual. I try talking to him. Howdy, Becca. How are you doing? Just fine is always the right answer when a friend's parent is the one asking. Do you know if Eddie Lee is done with his piano lesson? I'd been itching to hear that kid play for once. I can check, you say. So we go out, ride bike, north, east, west, south, east. Talk to Eddie Lee. Eddie Lee, I need your help. He stops playing and gawks up at you. Me? With what? I need one of your dad's airboats. What for? I can't tell you. It's a secret. A girl thing. Aha. Say no more. Works every time. What exactly am I supposed to do? I just need you to distract your dad for a minute. Can you do that? Sure, if you do something for me first. Uh-oh. Like what? He gets a sheet of paper out of his pocket. Zoe has said some very hurtful things recently about me as a person, like that I'm a scrawny little weirdo. She also says that you're a creep sometimes. He nods. And besides hurting my feelings, the things she says affects how my peers view me. And that affects my social prospects, which affect my chances of getting into a good college. Please get to the point. If you get Zoe to sign this retraction, Eddie Lee says, handing you the paper, I'll gladly help you steal from my dad. Got it. Okay, well, let's examine the retraction. It's a sheet of loose leaf with Eddie Lee's handwriting on it. I, the undersigned, hereby retract any and all statements I have made concerning the character of Eddie Lee Qualmsley and his status as a creep, geek, or weirdo. I acknowledge the damage my statements have caused to Mr. Qualmsley's reputation, and I promise I will refrain from such libel in the future. Eddie Lee Qualmsley is not a creep. Libel. Below that is a place for Zoe to sign, and a place for you to sign as a witness. Let's go south. Talk to Zoe. Hey, Zoe, I need to ask you a favor. Sure, what is it? I just need you to sign this, you say, placing the document in her hands. She looks it over with an unpromising expression. Is he for real? Hard to say. It's the only way he'll help me, you tell her. Zoe rolls her eyes and pulls out a pen. Using the rough seat of the bench as her flat surface, she scratches impatiently on the statement and hands it over for you to notarize. You take a bit of time with your signature to make up for hers. Thanks, you say. Whatever, she says. I doubt it'll hold up in court anyway. Let's examine the retraction now. Same description as before. Below that is Zoe's signature, a contemptuous scribble, and yours, notarizing Zoe's. We go north. Give retraction to Eddie Lee. Oh, give retraction to Eddie Lee. Well, says Eddie Lee. Yeah, here you go. You push the document toward him, and he accepts it with an insufferable smile. Kuji? How the snot is that pronounced? It's Polish. Ugh, this is Copilot now? Polish pronunciation. How to pronounce?
Dziękuję.
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 Dziękuję. Interesting. Okay. Dziękuję. What? Oh, sorry, Polish. It means thanks very much. He carefully folds up the paper and puts it back in his pocket. You're super welcome. Hey, while we're on the subject, weren't you going to help me with something? Oh, yeah. Eddie Lee leaps to his feet. I'll meet you at my dad's place. He takes off like a rocket. South, west. Water's Edge. Here we are again at Eddie Lee's dad's airboat rental business. Eddie Lee is standing a ways off from the entrance, waiting for you. An airboat is floating at the dock. So, what's the plan? Eddie says. I don't know. Play something for him on your little piano thing. Really? I'm not that good. I've only been playing for... Another Polish word. What? 3 months. Wait, what did I say? You just shake your head. Talk to Eddie Lee. Are you ready? Eddie Lee asks. Yeah, are you ready? I think so. You go in first. Okay, we go inside. After we dismount. In. Okay. An airboat key is hanging on a hook behind the counter. Qualmsley waves as you come in. Hi, Becca. Hey there, Eddie Lee. Eddie Lee wants to play one of his pieces for you, you explain, stepping back to give him center stage. Well, I'd love to hear it, says Mr. Qualmsley. I want to see how those lessons are paying off. Sure, Eddie Lee says, looking around the room. There's nowhere to sit, so he sits on the floor. He switches on the keyboard and starts to play. It's some sort of European dancing tune, switching back and forth between two melodies. Each bouncy, carefree phrase is answered with a solemn section, and then another happy part, and so on. Even though he's playing on a cheap electronic keyboard, sitting cross-legged on the floor, Eddie Lee is being more serious than you've ever seen him in his life. He seems to have lost himself in the music. You look over at Mr. Qualmsley and find him grinning down at his son's surprising new talent. He's in his own little world, too. We try to take the key. Keeping an eye on Mr. Qualmsley, you slip behind the counter and grab the airboat key. He's too proud of his son to notice. We examine it, you see nothing special about it. We go outside. Enter airboat. You get into the airboat. Untie airboat. I guess not. Turn airboat on. You insert the key and turn the ignition. The engine roars to life and the fan begins spinning. South. Swamp in the airboat. You are in the middle of the Opasasa swamp. Cypress trees and hanging vines obscure your vision in every direction. Ryan's note. As hard as I tried, I could not translate Tailframe's original swamp navigation puzzle into something that worked in Inform 7. So, I had to improvise. Good luck. Exits? ? Let's examine the trees. Tall trees with gigantic roots fill the swamp. It takes a skilled hand to steer between them. Or you've just been lucky so far. Examine the vines. You can see a lot of Spanish moss, which you're pretty sure is a kind of vine. Listen. The roar of the airboat fills the air. Okay. Let's go south. Oh, to the sunken castle in the airboat. You slow down the airboat as it comes into view. A fortress of black stone, wreathed with ancient vines, towers over you. The entire castle is tilted to one side, slowly sinking into the swamp. Exits. North, inside. Okay, at the risk of aggravating the copy protection, I'm going to turn the airboat off so that we can role play like the Feely suggested. Let's enter. The airboat isn't going anywhere while the engine is off. Dismount. Out. Okay, here we go. You get out of the airboat. Sunken Castle. You stand on a narrow shelf of slick mud outside the black fortress. The rotten remains of a massive door hang in a crumbling gateway. Exits north and inside. The airboat floats just off the shore. Inside. Gallery. The air in this hallway is thick with moisture and decay. The walls and floor are covered in slick moss. You feel like you've stepped into a cave, not a man-made structure. The remains of a tapestry hang on one wall, flanked by two stairways. Exits up, down, and outside. Okay, we need to look at the tapestry in the castle. Basically, the digit is divided by 4, and then the quotient determines the person in the tapestry, and the remainder determines what they're doing. The boy with the sword appears in the code, but can't show up in the game. Okay, so, what a person and a thing they are doing. Examine tapestry. The tapestry depicted a pale woman with long, dark hair bowing to a king. Most of the details have rotted away. Let's see. So there's a dour older woman. No, there's someone bowing to a king, and the person is a pale woman. Pale woman bowing to a king. So the quotient determines the person in the tapestry, and the remainder determines what they're doing. Okay, so it's a remainder of 2 indicates bowing to a king. Remainder of 0 indicates contemplating globe. Interesting. Okay, so, yeah. We got a 2 here. This is digit 8. Okay. All right. So that's actually all of the digits except for one, digit 14, which requires us to get into the radio station, which is dark. So we'll need a light source before we can get in there. Let's go down first. Crypt. A slimy sarcophagus rests in the middle of this chamber, lit by 4 torches that dance with green fire. Further on, at the edge of the torchlight's reach, you can make out a huge stone door. Exits up. Examine the door. A massive stone door that hasn't been opened in many, many years. Looking closer, you can make out words engraved in the stone, but they aren't in any language you know. Examine torch. You've seen green fire in Mr. Sarducci's class, but this doesn't look quite the same. The torches are firmly fixed to the walls. Not using that to figure out the radio station. The sarcophagus. Despite the slime that's grown over its surface, the stone coffin stands out from the surrounding decay. It must be carved from some more durable material than the walls of the castle. The lid of the sarcophagus is firmly in place, but you can make out a seam underneath. I'm not going to mess with this just yet. Let's go up, up, to the lookout tower. You've reached the pinnacle of the sinking castle. Looking out from the tower, you can see nothing but the dense foliage of the swamp, slowly growing over the fortress. Exits down. An antique sword lies abandoned on the flagstones. Examine the sword. Although the blade is blackened with age, the elaborately wrought hilt shows this was a fine weapon in its time. Take it. Down. Down. Open lid. Steeling yourself, you dig your fingers in under the lid and attempt to move it aside, but it's too heavy. You can't get enough leverage. Well, okay, let's go up. Let's go out. Let's enter airboat. Turn airboat on. North. North. Okay. So, Eddie Lee's pacing back and forth in front of the shop. A trusty bicycle is parked here. Eddie Lee runs down to the dock as you approach, yelling something you can't hear over the roar of the airboat fan. You turn off the engine, but Eddie Lee doesn't quiet down. Polish interjections, Rebecca, he cries. More Polish interjections. Calm down, Eddie Lee. Speak English. Further declamations in Polish. You stare at each other helplessly. Finally, Eddie Lee gives up and walks slowly up the dock. Google Translate. Let's see what he's saying. Something's wrong. I don't speak English anymore. I'm trying. I wouldn't speak Polish if I had a choice. I don't even know how to speak Polish. Well, that is a problem. The curses around town are getting worse. Well, that's something for the players to know, but not Becca, unfortunately. Turn airboat off. Oh, we already turned it off. Right. Out. Ride bike. We need to go... Let's go talk to Miss Muriel before we hand over this sword, because I don't trust the man on the water tower. Let's go east. Show sword to Zoe. Zoe looks at the sword. What's that for? She asks. I was hoping you could tell me. She shrugs. Talk to Zoe. You tell Zoe about the castle in the swamp. Did you open the casket? No, it's too heavy. Then you need a tool. Zoe strokes her chin and starts thinking like a detective. Have you looked around everywhere? Yeah. Well, I tried to look in the old radio station, but it's dark in there. Zoe continues stroking her chin. Then you'll need something to act as a source of light. Okay, so this actually seems like a good hint system. Zoe will tell you things to figure out how to proceed. So we need something that acts as a source of light, which makes me think of the girl in the school who was interested in getting something from Kyle. Let's see. Dismount in, examine case. She's looking at something. Kyle, right. Out, ride bike, north, west, west, north. Kyle is here. So Kyle's working on his car. He needs something, I bet the sleepy guy is going to give me something useful. How we're going to wake up the sleepy guy. Probably with, well, let's see. Here's the thrift store. No. East. North. Dismount. Oh, go north again. Dismount. In. So show sword to, type right, to Miss Muriel. She shakes her head. I don't have time for that right now. Show business card to Muriel. She is very distracted. Talk to Miss Muriel. You tell Miss Muriel about the castle and what you found there. That sounds right. Crocodracula must be sleeping in his sarcophagus. You'll have to find a way to open it. I think I have something you could use. She paces around the cabin, looking inside and underneath everything for a stool with which to prise off the top of the sarcophagus, until she comes back to you. I guess not. Sorry. You'll think of something. Maybe ask that girl Zoe for help. All right. Out. Ride bike. South. 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 I was hoping to avoid this, but there's nothing else for it. Let's ride our bike up the water tower. And let's save. We are going to name this save pile Sword. Talk to man. Mr. JM? Yes? What was it you wanted me to find again? He rolls his eyes. A sword. A very old sword. Yeah, we found it. Show sword to man. His eyes light up as you hold out the sword. Excellent. I knew you'd come through. Well done, young miss. Now for the exchange. He reaches into his jacket and produces a wooden flute. I assure you this trade is more than fair, he says, and he hands you the flute in the same motion with which he smoothly relieves you of the sword, which he stows in some invisible pocket. It was a pleasure doing business, Mr. Apkin, he says, and he touches the brim of his hat. Let's examine the flute. An old wooden flute, much smaller and simpler than the recorder you used to play in music class. The wood is carved with a sinuous floral design. Okay. Play flute. You put your lips to the flute and blow. Somehow a wild, shrill melody spills out, quite independently from your control. You take the instrument away from your mouth, and the flute goes silent. Let's go down. East. In. Dismount. In. Play flute. Show flute to Rubach. He doesn't seem to care. Out. Ride bike. South. Talk to Zoe. Yeah, need something as a source of light. Is this to wake up the man at the west, north, north, east? Play flute. Nope, doesn't affect Hank. West. Climb ivy. Oh, vines. Climb vines. No. Up. Yeah, no. Okay. Let's go south. East. South. East. Play flute. Show flute to Lindsay. You can't give the wooden flute to Lindsay. There's no telling what she'll do with it. Play flute. Show flute to Zoe. Yeah, I was hoping you could tell me, Zoe. Right now, here's my current thinking. We need a source of light. The obvious source of light is the science fair project from our rival in the school, but she is obsessed with Kyle. Kyle is likely to give us something if he can get something cool for his car. Hank likely has something cool for his car, but Hank can't stay awake. So we need something to wake Hank up. Who would have something to wake Hank up? I wonder if the sheriff would. Let's go west. Here's Eddie Lee, who's stuck in Polish. West again to Ash Street. Oh, that's right. We have not been fully exploring the map. Here's Ash Street on the bicycle. At the end of Ash Street is a tall gray house with peeling paint and dark windows. A rickety fence surrounds the garden. The gate is unlocked, and it creaks softly when a breeze passes. Exits east and inside. Mrs. Idlewild is pacing up and down the block, poking around in various bushes, staying well away from the house. Idlewild. Mrs. Idlewild wears thick glasses that make her eyes look huge and magnify her apprehension whenever she's worried about something, which is most of the time. Right now, she seems slightly more on edge than usual. We talk to her. Chatting with Mrs. Idlewild is usually more trouble than it's worth, but she looks particularly desperate today. Do you need anything, Mrs. Idlewild? You ask, keeping a respectful distance. I do, dear girl, I do, but I don't know if you can help me. I've mislaid something, a flute. My husband carved it, and I only bring it out on special occasions. My cat is here. Hi, cat. Please move. She doesn't offer any other details, and you're left to wonder how a beloved flute could end up lost in the bushes. I'll see what I can do, you say, and Mrs. Idlewild nods distractedly. What a curious coincidence that I happen to have exactly the flute she's looking for. Show flute to Mrs. Idlewild. Is this what you're looking for, Mrs. Idlewild? Her eyes get even bigger behind her gigantic glasses, and she reaches out to accept the flute from you. Yes, yes. Oh, you sweet little girl. Where did you find it? You take a deep breath, unsure of how to explain. She seems to take this as a clue. Somebody gave it to you? You nod. A man in a tall hat? You nod. But you had to give him something first. You can't bring yourself to say anything. Oh, dear. I'm afraid what you've done may have consequences you couldn't predict, but I do have to thank you for finding my flute. Let's see. She searches herself until she turns up an old thermos, which she presses into your hands. Here we are, hot, healthful tea, very energizing. It's my own blend. Enjoy! Well, examine tea. An old-fashioned steel thermos with a few dents in it. Something is sloshing around inside. My cat is rolling on my mouse and causing slight havoc. Okay, there we go. Drink tea. You twist the lid off the thermos and have a sip. Goosebumps pop up on your arms, and you take a step backward. You feel awake. Extremely awake. This is some strong stuff. You take a few deep breaths, but you can still feel your blood pounding in your veins. We know where this goes. But first let's dismount. Let's go inside. First opening the windowless door. You timidly approach the door and try the handle. It's locked. Ride bike. Examine windows. Nobody ever comes out of the house at the end of Ash Street, but Zoe swears she's seen something moving around inside. Well, let's go back to the east, and to the north, and to the east, and to the west, to the north, to the east. Here we go. Hank, have I got something for you? Give thermos to Hank. Hank? Hey, Hank, I've got something for you. Hank rubs his eyes. Oh, hey, Rebecca. Sorry, It's tea, you say, quickly opening the thermos and pushing it toward his nose. The effect is immediate. His eyes pop open, and he rears up in his chair like a snake bit him. How about it? He bellows, and he snatches the thermos out of your hands. He gives the tea another sniff, and he shakes all over. He sniffs it again, and he giggles maniacally. Then he lifts the thermos to his lips, and he takes a single sip, which is probably more than enough. That's the stuff. That is the stuff, Hank says. I can't thank you enough, young lady. There are no words that can describe what a good deed you have done me on this fine, fine day. Whatever can I do to express my gratitude? What token of thanks can I possibly offer to match the inestimable kindness you've... Wait just a second. He ducks down into his booth, and you hear an awful racket, like a blender trying to puree a typewriter. When it's finally over, Hank returns to view bearing a tubular metal object that looks like the thermos's older brother. Catalytic converters of this vintage, in this condition, are very difficult to come by. When you find an interested collector, you will be able to draw a very high price indeed for such a singular example of fine German engineering. He drops the object into your arms. It's heavy. Thank you very much, you say, and you back away slowly. Let's examine the converter. It's a longish metal canister with pipes coming out of each end. Presumably something goes in one tube, and then something else, or the same thing, comes out from the other. From the described size, I'm surprised we're going to be able to ride on our bike with this, but that is how it goes in Text Adventureland sometimes. Let's go to the west, and to the south, and to the west. To the north, here's Kyle. Kyle, have we got something for you? Give converter to Kyle. You hoist the bulky converter thing proudly into view. Think she could use one of these, you say, attempting a winning smile despite the back strain. Kyle's face lights up. Nice work, Drapkin. He takes the thing off your hands and you breathe a sigh of relief. Do you want to help me install it? You hear your mouth saying, sure, even though the rest of your body wants nothing more to do with the thing. You hold one end, and Kyle takes the other, and he directs you to the far side of the car so that together you can carefully lower the catalytic converter into the engine. Ryan's note, please don't send me any corrections. Keep in mind, Tailframe produced this game in 1990, and today most of their staff are living under assumed names. But as you're carefully lowering it, your end of the contraption slips. It lands with a splash, and a glob of oil flies out of the car and hits you in the face. You freeze. Kyle drops the other end and rushes to your side. Sorry about that, he says, and he pulls out his towel to wipe the oil off of your face. When you've convinced him you're okay, he turns back to the car to finish screwing in the converter, leaving you holding his towel. That ought to do it. He lowers the hood and grins. Thanks for the assist, Becca. Then he busies himself with some other element of vehicle maintenance, and he doesn't take his towel back. We examine the towel. It's Kyle's brow sweat wiping towel. It's covered in Kyle's brow sweat and a fair amount of motor oil. Well, you so desperately want to talk to Kyle more, but with nothing else to say, all you can do is smile at him when he notices you hanging over his shoulder. Oh, Becca, That's so sweet and sad. Let's go east to the radio station, south to the water tower, east to Azalea Street, south to Buchanan High School. The really sad part is what's going to happen next. Dismount in hallway. Jocelyn. Excuse me. Yep, she's got the planetarium. Show towel to Jocelyn. Jocelyn rears back in disgust. Why would I want your grody towel? I just helped Kyle fix his car. You pause to enjoy the look on her face. And this is the towel he was using to, keep the sweat out of his eyes. And what made you want to come all the way back here to tell me about it? Because I want that star ball, you tell her. It's a risky gambit, assuming that Jocelyn wants a sweaty souvenir of Kyle more than she wants to thwart you. But she's not rejecting the notion. She's thinking about it. Thwart, huh? Okay, deal, she says, snatching the towel and pushing the planetarium sphere into your arms. Then she turns around so she can start ignoring you. Let's examine Jocelyn now. Jocelyn stiffens as you approach and inches away, but she's too focused on Kyle to actually acknowledge your presence. That's bordering, that's creepy adjacent, I would say. a little obsessive, but I mean, who among us has not made a fool of themselves over some affair of the emotions? Let's go out. And north. I bet Zoe will tell us something about using the light. No, still acting as though we don't know what our light source is. West and north to the radio station. Dismount. Inside. Wait, what? I'm not on my bike anymore. Huh, okay. Let's go in. Turn Starball on. You flick the switch and the starball lights up, projecting constellations onto your hands, your clothes, and everything around. Control room. The planetarium sphere spreads a curtain of stars over the walls of a dingy control room. The director's station is laid out with a turntable, a microphone, speakers, and a mixing board, all covered in dust. Above the console is a window to the announcer's room. Above that is a clock and an on-air light. Exits outside. Someone left a crowbar leaning against the wall. A heavy crowbar, bluish-black, and slightly dirty. We take it. Okay, now that we're in here, it's something about the dial. Let's examine the window. The announcer's room is eerily empty. Clock. The clock has stopped at 10:09. That would seem like an interesting clue, but it does not appear to be one. Turntable. A record player for playing records, but you don't see any records anywhere. A microphone. A simple-looking microphone. You were expecting something bigger. Speakers. They appear to be built into the console. Mixing board. You can only guess what all these sliders and buttons are for. At the bottom corner of the mixing board is a black dial. Okay, what is our guide here? The 14th digit affects the sounds that play when you mess around with the black dial in the radio station. There are 9 different channels on the dial, but luckily you don't have to listen to all of them to determine the 14th digit of the registration key. So, first we look at channel 3. Examine dial. You wipe away some of the dust so you can see. The numbers 0 through 9 are printed around the dial. It's currently set to 0. Set dial to 3. You turn the dial up to 3. You hear a faint pop as the speakers on the console activate. A voice comes from the speakers. Laura? Then it's quiet, but you think you can hear someone breathing. Laura? Now we need to go to channel 5. You listen carefully. The voice tries again. Laura, are you there? Laura? The voice is quiet, but you can tell the person is still there. Let's set dial to 5. Is that what it said? Yeah, channel 5. You turn the dial up to 5. A continuous blast of unidentifiable white noise comes over the speakers. Train or wind? You listen carefully. The whooshing goes on, and you begin to recognize it as a howling wind. Okay. Now we go to channel 1. Okay, here we go. Set dial to 1. You turn the dial down to 1. A quiet droning sound comes out of the speakers. The droning gets louder and louder. The droning starts to get softer. Rising or fading? The droning fades away until it's almost inaudible. So when I first set the dial to 1, it was a quiet droning sound that gets louder and louder. I think that means it's rising. It could be, so it's either 0 or 4. My instinct is 0, but it might actually be 4 because here's my thinking. We are hearing a tone, and it could be fading in and out, or it could be rising and lowering, so going up and down. So rising or lowering in pitch versus fading in and out of volume. So these are the two possibilities I'm interpreting. So I think, because like the state of the tone is oscillating. So it, to me, like fast versus slow, that seems like that's a singular state. The state that we're getting is one that is oscillating. So I think fading in and out is correct. So I think this is 4. I'm going to put 4. But I'm going to put an asterisk. Could be 0. Okay. So I think I have the full tail frame registration key. Done with that, probably. Okay. Let's go out. I think we have what we need now that we have the crowbar. So let's go south, south. Enter airboat. Turn airboat on. South, south. Out. In. Down. Open lid with crowbar. You press the point of the crowbar into the seam under the lid. You push on it hard. The crowbar slips and you almost crack your head against the wet stone. You look for a more likely spot and try again. The crowbar finds purchase. You push on it harder, harder, until it's firmly wedged in place. Then you press down on the crowbar with all your weight and with all your upper body strength of a 15-year-old girl. The lid of the sarcophagus budges slightly. You shift your weight and press harder. You hear a faint rattle as a chip of white stone is cleft from the coffin and tumbles to the floor. The crowbar gives way. You lose your footing. You fall hard on the slimy floor as the lid slides up and over. When you find your way to your feet, you look down into the triangular opening between the sarcophagus and the lid. The acrid torchlight doesn't reach inside. You see only darkness. It might be empty. You grab the lid with both hands and heave it open. Press any key to continue. A black shroud rises from out of the cavity. You step backwards, your breath caught in your chest as the shape unfurls itself, revealing a clawed green hand, a curved white fang, a glowing orange eye. The monster raises his arms, stretching out his cape like a pair of black wings. Then he draws the cloak around himself with a sharp snap that makes the torches flicker. He fixes you with his orange eyes. "A foolish young woman has wandered into my castle," he says. "Tell me your name." Your mind is blank with fear, and you answer automatically. "Becca Drapkin." "You freed me from a lengthy imprisonment." He notices the crowbar on the floor. "I think you didn't do so by accident. Why are you here?" You remember. You grab the stake. "I have to destroy you, to end my curse." You take a step forward and raise your arm to strike. Press any key to continue. He steps out of the sarcophagus and pulls the weapon from your hand. You realize your arm is shaking. You're shaking all over. He squeezes his claw around the stake until it snaps in two. "There's no curse that my destruction will undo. No curse on you, at least." "But aren't you Crocodracula?" He takes a moment to answer, and you notice a low hiss, like a sigh from the deep in his reptilian throat. "That has been my name for a long time, yes." "Then didn't you give me these?" You pull up your sleeve, and your scales glitter in the torchlight. Crocodracula doesn't come any closer to inspect you. He only squints at your shoulder. "No, I have no desire to afflict anyone with such a condition, least of all a young lady I've never met." "But Miss Muriel said—" "Muriel!" Crocodracula bellows, and the crypt shakes. Afflict. Press any key to continue. "Muriel Half-Moon, the witch. She came here hoping to destroy me months or years ago. But I was more than a match for her. All she could do was seal me in this crypt." He shakes his head. "I haven't had the time to put any curse on you, Becca Drapkin. I suspect it was Muriel who gave you those scales, to trick you into doing her dirty work for you. No doubt she assumed that I'd be weakened after so long a slumber." You are outraged at Miss Muriel's deceit, but you shake your head as you realize you're taking the word of a giant talking alligator. "Why should I believe you?" "You might ask Muriel herself." Crocodracula sniffs the air. "Although, if she can detect that her plot has failed, she may already have fled. At any rate, if anyone can remove your curse, it's her." "If Miss Muriel can uncurse me," you mutter, "maybe she can help Eddie Lee, too." "What's the matter with this Eddie Lee figure?" Press any key to continue. Checksum failed. Authentication halt. Tailframe has detected an unlicensed copy of Crocodracula: The Beginning. Software piracy is a serious offense under international copyright law. You will be asked to provide your 17-digit registration key. Press any key to continue. The bronze is deathly cold in your hands, and small gems twinkle feebly in the torchlight. "Unless what?" He lowers his snout. "If it's too late, then Eddie Lee is lost, and there's nothing we can do to save him. Nor anything Muriel can do, I suspect. But don't despair, Becca Drapkin. Go quickly and help your friend." Of all the things you could say in response, somehow you come up with, "You can just call me Becca." "All right, then. Go, Becca. Now." We have been asked to provide our 17-digit registration key, but up. The air in this hallway is thick with moisture and decay. The walls and floor are covered in slick moss. Down. Crocodracula leans uneasily against his sarcophagus. Let's examine Crocodracula. Even though his form is monstrous, there's a spark of humanity in those brilliant orange eyes. But when he notices you looking closer, he pulls his collar around his face and turns away. We go up, we go out. We get into the airboat. You get into the airboat. An amulet. We didn't have that before. A large pendant of tarnished bronze hangs on a delicate chain. There are gems embedded in the metal, and they catch the light with the slightest movement. It feels heavier than it should. Let's go north. Let's go south. Let's go out. Let's go in. Let's go down. Let's show business card to Crocodracula. He has no use for it. Okay. Out. Up. Out. In. Out. Enter boat. North. North. I think we put the amulet on Eddie Lee, but first let's go out. Let's go north, east, south. Talk to Zoe. I want her input on the situation. You fill Zoe in about everything that's happened this afternoon. As your story goes on, her eyes get wider and wider. So, you conclude, what do you think I should do? Zoe gulps. Well, since Crocodracula is real, apparently, then I think... She blinks several times. I think you should ask him for advice instead. Okay, well... Let's go west to Eddie Lee. Give amulet to Eddie Lee. You're not sure what exactly to do with the amulet, so you try holding it in front of you like a police badge. Okay, Eddie Lee, hold still. And he responds in Polish. The amulet begins to glow and shake, and a harsh electric smell fills the air. Eddie Lee starts to scream. He falls to the ground. The amulet stops glowing. You run over to him. Eddie Lee, are you all right? Yeah, I'm fine. What just happened? You fell down. No, before that. I was speaking Polish, right? Yeah, but you must have hit your head when you fell, and it knocked the English-speaking part of your brain back into place. Eddie Lee touches his head gingerly. Yeah, that sounds right. Well, thanks. I think I better go let my dad know I'm okay. He gets up and staggers into the shop. Where amulet? You put on the amulet. North. 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 Where did we leave our bicycle? West. North. South. South. East. South. West. East. East. Ride bike. Back to the sandy road. To Miss Muriel's cabin. Dismount. In. Miss Muriel's workshop. The musty air is thick with the hissing and burbling of strange concoctions. The oddest things hang from the walls. Faceless dolls, strings of beads, dried herbs, and a couple of bleached cow skulls. It looks like every available surface is occupied by some half-finished arcane project. The center of the chaos is Miss Muriel's big book. Miss Muriel herself seems to have flown the coop. We examine the book. You flip through the book until you find it. A spell that curses its victim with patches of reptilian scales. Eventually, the entire body is covered in scales. The eyes become slits, the tongue becomes forked, then your arms and legs fall off. You turn the page. There is an antidote. The only way to remove the curse is to swallow something called a crawling emerald. And there's a picture. You groan in desperation. The drawing is of a type of beetle you are all too familiar with. Okay, so Lindsay has the beetle. Do we have something that she will want? Maybe the star ball? Let's examine the dolls. They're not like the dolls your mother makes. They're made out of leather and twigs and who knows what else. Let's go out. Ride bike. South. 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 East. East. Nope. South. East. Talk to Lindsay. You put on a sweet smile. Hey, Lindsay, do you still have that neat bug? She hesitates. She knows something's up. Yeah? Do you think I could look at it again? She squints at you. Where's Hunky? What? Hunky the monkey. I want him back. Where is he? You rub your forehead. How can you be expected to keep track of Lindsay's stuffed animals? Your collection is enough trouble on its own. Let's go in. Let's dismount. Let's go in. Let's go up. Examine animals. So we looked at the animals. Hunky the monkey is not among them. You wouldn't steal your sister's doll. Let's go down. Let's talk to Drew. See you later, Drew, you say, just so you can roll your eyes when he doesn't respond. Let's go out, ride bike, west, talk to Zoe. She says we should talk to Crocodracula for advice. Well, okay. West, dismount, ride, enter airboat. South, south, out, in, down, talk to Crocodracula. You tell Crocodracula that Eddie is feeling a lot better. That's good to hear. Have you looked into who may have caused these troubles for him? You mean Professor Rubach? I guess I could run by his place. Oh, Professor Rubach's responsible. Okay. Let's go up. Out. Enter boat. Enter boat. North. North. Out. Ride bike. North. East. East. Okay, yeah. Dismount. Enter. Let's go inside. Studio. Most of Professor Rubach's living room is taken up by a gleaming baby grand piano. Professor Rubach is nowhere to be seen. There's a cassette tape sitting on the piano bench. Take tape. Examine it. The label on the tape has Jazowski Sonata No. 5 written on it in an almost illegible script. Okay, we should go out, ride bike, west and north, dismount, in, examine mixing board. Set dial to 0. I thought there might be a tape deck here. Have we seen a tape deck? Apparently not. Speakers? Did we see a tape deck? Where would that be? Examining the console, someone must have run off with the director's chair after the station went out of business, but they didn't think to take away any of this equipment. Might be at home, might be in the school, might be in the thrift shop. It really feels like this is the place for audio equipment, but I don't see play tape. It's not something you can play. Still just examining things. Let's go out. Ride bike. West to the Weeping Willow. Let's go south to the sheriff's station. I want to go back in there. Dismount. Inside. Okay. Wall-to-wall carpeting, Sheriff Dillard, twiddling his thumbs and minor agitation. He still doesn't have anything to do. Show tape to Dillard. Dillard scratches his chin as you present the cassette tape. So, he says, do you want me to put it in the Lost and Found? Oh, no, you say. I just wanted you to see it. Well, I'd call that mission accomplished, young lady. He gives you a little salute. Where is the Lost and Found? Oh, right. This is just the Lost Cat. See at a desk? Nope. Sheriff Dillard gets more use out of the lobby's big comfy chair than any visitors to the station ever have. But then, it's his station. Oh, right. Miss Lipton had been listening to something. Let's go back to the school. So out we go, ride the bike, east, south, east, and east again. No, we're here. Dismount, go in, east. So here we are at Miss Lipton's place. Calvin is still in the cage somehow, despite being in our inventory. Talk to Miss Lipton. Everything here is the same, so let's show tape to Miss Lipton. We show the cassette tape to Miss Lipton. What's this? Miss Lipton asks as you offer her the tape. I think it's classical music, you say. It might help you relax. It might be better than rainforest sounds, at least. Thank you very much, Becca. Why don't we try it right now? Miss Lipton removes the tape from her cassette player and inserts Professor Rubach's. She adjusts her headphones, and then she presses play. You hear tinny piano music coming from the speakers. Miss Lipton blinks. This is... She nods her head slowly. Her arms fall to her sides. Miss Lipton? You ask. She doesn't respond. You wave your hand in front of her face. Her half-lidded eyes do not react. That's troubling, but it does let us take the key. Examine it. It's a heavy key for locking up something serious. Possibly in the basement? We'll come back to her. We go west. We go down. Here we are in the basement. Unlock heavy door with brass key. We unlocked it. West. You open the heavy door. Please enter your 17-digit registration key, which I believe to be 8482756295950433. Authentication successful. Generating tunnels. You pass through the doorway. Tunnel. These must be the steam tunnels underneath the school building. Pipes snake over the walls, stretching into darkness. Exits. East, west. A heavy steel door stands open to the east. There's a boy in here. Hi, he says. The only light is a weak bulb overhead that makes him look deathly pale. My name's Eric. Hi, Eric. I'm Becca. Are you supposed to be down here? He shrugs. I've been down here a long time. Want to see something cool? What is it? There's a door, somewhere. He cranes his neck around to peer into the darkness. At the other end. And where does the door lead? He shrugs again with a little smile. Want to see? Let's examine Eric more closely. He's kind of cute, with sandy hair and an unassuming smile. He must be about your age, but you've never seen him at school. Unassuming. We currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 words so far. Okay. Let's talk to Eric. So, which way to this door, you ask? Eric looks at the floor. He wasn't expecting this question. I'll know it when I see it. We should just get going, he says. So we go west. Tunnel. The tunnel gets narrower, and you can feel the heat radiating from the pipes on your cheeks. Exits north, east, west. So, what year are you? In school? Eric asks. Sophomore. He nods. Do you like it? Do I like school? Not especially. I guess there's fun parts. Do you? He glances away. It's something to do, at least. Let's go north. Tunnel. The plaster walls have cracked and fallen away in a few places, revealing ancient brickwork underneath. Exits north, south, east, west. You look back at Eric. Do you go to this school? No, he says. You wait for some further explanation, but it doesn't come. You go east here. Tunnel. A pale yellow light bulb burns overhead, inside a rusty wire cage. Exits west. So, can I ask, what are you doing down in these tunnels? Eric looks down at his hands. He's trembling slightly. A chill comes over you, and you wish you hadn't said anything. Finally, he says, I got lost. You pat his shoulder a bit. Sorry. It's okay. We go west. To the tunnel. Eric follows us. Let's go north. Tunnel. One of the pipes is leaking. Drops of water hit the grimy floor and sizzle, evaporating before they can form a puddle. Exits south, east, and west. Eric follows close behind. We go east again. Tunnel. Dead bugs are scattered across the floor. You try to focus on the tunnel ahead. Exits west. Eric catches up with you. We go back to the west. And once more. Tunnel. The pipes end here. Another heavy door is built into the west wall. Exits east, west. There it is, says Eric. You can go in if you want. I'll wait back here. Don't you want to come with? He shakes his head and smiles a little sadly. I'll be okay, he tells you. And there is a extra quotation mark. Tail frame. Let's go west. To the basement. Dust flies up wherever you move. Dust that hasn't been disturbed for a long time. Soft light trickles in from clouded windows near the ceiling. All around you are white shapes, sheets draped over unfamiliar forms. After stepping carefully around several of the shapes, you find a staircase. We examine the shapes. When you drape a sheet over a piece of furniture, you can more or less tell what sort of furniture is underneath from the way the sheet hangs. You can't imagine what kinds of furniture is suggested by the shapes of these sheets. Sheets draped over unfamiliar forms. Okay, I misread that when I was looking at it a moment ago. Did not register. Let's look under sheet. You carefully take the edge of one sheet between your fingers. You pull it up slowly. The thing underneath is metallic, silvery white. It ripples slightly, and you drop the sheet. That's creepy. Let's go up. Room. This should be a living room, but it's not quite right. The fireplace is boarded up. The painting that should be hanging over the mantel is lying flat on the floor. The couch and chairs aren't arranged to point at each other or at a TV or anything. They're lined up in some sort of curling procession. A book is turned at an odd angle, blocking out most of the front windows. A bookcase is turned at an odd angle. Everything in the room has been placed far away from the front door. Exits up, down, or outside. A book of crossword puzzles has been set standing on one end at the foot of the bookcase. I pick up the book for a closer look. The pages are yellowed and slightly crinkled from water damage. The date on the back is 1983, but none of the puzzles have been filled in. I know who wants this. Let's examine the window. You think you recognize the street outside the house. Could this be Ash Street somehow? Examine the bookcase. The shelves of the bookcase are all empty. Couch. There's no reason anyone would arrange chairs like this deliberately, but they're very deliberately arranged. Painting. You have to lean over to get a good look at it. It's a painting of a Midwestern landscape, a field of wheat, a barn, a gangly windmill. Let's go up. Attic. It's dark. Your eyes need a moment to adjust. But there does seem to be something up there. A long thing stretched across the floor. You hear Eric's voice downstairs. I'd come back down if I were you. I did not heed, Eric. I looked at the thing. You squint into the darkness, and slowly you're able to make out the details of whatever is slithering. In a blind panic, you rush down the stairs. Oh. Well, good call, Eric. Let's go out. Here's Ash Street. At the end of Ash Street is a tall gray house with peeling paint and dark windows. Yep, here we are. Mrs. Idlewild looks deeply disturbed when she sees you emerging from the house, but she regains her composure quickly. Okay, well, let's go back in. And let's go down. And let's go east. Let's talk to Eric. Eric, you say, when did you... He looks back at you solemnly, and you decide not to ask. So we're going to go ahead and go back the way we came to the tunnel. Let's go south. I don't think we tried going west here. It's a dead end, though. So let's go east, south, west again. And here's another dead end. Okay. That's the full map. So back to the tunnel. And we may bid Eric farewell momentarily. Eric did not follow us into the basement. Oh, I have to enter this again anytime you go this way? 8482756295950433. Talk to Eric. That's no big deal. It's just repeating. Let's go up. We already know where to go from here because we have a book of puzzles. Ride bike. North, west, west. Dismount, in. Give puzzles to Dillard. Hey, Sheriff, look what I found. A big, goofy grin spreads over Dillard's face as you toss him the book. He flips through it. Finding the puzzles all unfilled, he slaps it against his thigh. Becca Drapkin, I can't thank you enough. This is just what I needed to get through the week. I gotta pay you back. Hold on. He dashes out of the lobby toward the back of the station. Soon he returns with a plastic crate, brimming with hats, shoes, and various oddments. Oddments? Now, don't tell anyone I did this, but I'm going to let you take one thing, just one thing, out of the Lost and Found. I didn't know the town had Lost and Found. Well, we could probably do a better job of publicizing it. See anything you like? You lift a fairly cute scarf and reveal a familiar face. Hunky, Lindsay's favorite stuffed animal. He looks like he's been through a lot. That little guy turned up after the big storm last week. I thought I ought to try to clean him up some, but... Dillard grimaces. I didn't know what there was I could do. It looks like there's very little anyone could do. Besides being filthy, Hunky's monkey arms and monkey legs are hanging on by a few threads, and he's missing his left eye. He belongs to my sister, you mutter, wondering how you'll break it to her. Heck. Well, if you're actually picking him up from the Lost and Found, he doesn't count. You better pick out something else to be your reward. So you take the scarf, and Dillard returns the crate to the back of the station. Then he takes a seat and digs into some crosswords. Okay. So now we have a cute scarf and Hunky the monkey. It's green with pale blue polka dots. It's nothing special, but you didn't have to pay for it. Well, actually, you had to do quite a lot of work to get it. Wear scarf. You tie the scarf over your hair. There's no mirror around to check, but it probably looks great. Hunky. Lindsay's favorite toy looks like he's gone through the meat grinder. You can believe he was outside during a storm, but that doesn't explain his limbs being almost torn off, or his missing eye. Maybe a neighborhood dog thought he was a chew toy. Well, I know what to do with this. Let's go out. Let's ride our bike to the north. And again. And dismount. Let's go in. Hey, Hazel. Hi, Hazel. Hey, Becca. You looking for anything in particular? Nope. Just browsing, you say. She pops her gum. Show Hunky to Hazel. Hazel looks Hunky the monkey over. We don't usually take this kind of donations, she says. Oh, that's not what I meant. Then why'd you show it to me? I just thought, never mind. Okay, well, let's examine cabinet again. The metal cabinet has endured a lot of abuse, but it doesn't look like it should possess any supernatural qualities. Open the cabinet. It's empty. Hazel shrugs. What did you expect? You shrug in return and close the door. Put Hunky in cabinet. You open the cabinet and place Hunky the monkey inside. Hazel peers around the cabinet door. Yikes, she says. You'd better hope that all that damage was done in the last 3 weeks. You close the door. You open the door. Inside is Hunky the monkey, looking as fuzzy and peppy as the day he was born. He even has both eyes. What did I tell you? Hazel says, more proud of herself than she is happy for your success. You pick up Hunky and give him a little hug. Hazel closes the cabinet door for you. Examine Hunky. Hunky the monkey is back to his old self. He has a big goofy smile on his face. He doesn't know how grateful he should be. Success. Let's go out. Ride our bike. And we go south, east, south, east, south, east. Dismount. Give Hunky to Lindsay. Hey, Lindsay, I've got someone here who wants to see you. Lindsay's eyes widen as Hunky the monkey dances his way out from behind your back. She squeals in joy and reaches out toward her old friend. You pull him away. Hold on. How about you let me take care of your cool bug, and then you can play with Hunky? Lindsay nods enthusiastically, pushing the shoebox into your chest so she can grab Hunky with both hands. The two of them rapidly become reacquainted, and soon your sister has more or less forgotten that you exist. You open the box. You lift the beetle between 2 fingers, expecting it to struggle, but it doesn't. It has resigned itself to the unthinkable. I can't go west. I wanted to show it to Zoe, talk to her and do it there, but eat bug. You raise the insect to your lips. Your throat constricts, and a tortured, desperate gagging noise comes out. Lindsay looks up from Hunky the monkey. For a moment, she can't understand what she's seeing. You put the beetle in your mouth. You try to ignore its taste and its texture, and you fail. You swallow the creature as fast as you can, but it struggles and it wriggles for what seems like an eternity. Lindsay utters an animal scream of absolute delight. Press any key to continue. And all the scales are gone? He nods. And Muriel has not shown her face? Well, I haven't gone up to her cabin to check. A wise approach. When she does return, I'm sure I'll hear of it. He turns to the window and looks down over the swamp. Wind whistles through the trees. The amulet I gave you carries a great responsibility, he says. My duty to protect this land from harm, from things that humankind should remain blissfully unaware of. You shouldn't be expected to face such things. He turns to face you, as if to illustrate his point, but you're used to him by now. Give me back the amulet, he says. You can forget all the strange things you've seen and enjoy a normal life. You turn the amulet over in your hands. The thing is, I don't want a normal life, and you helped me, so I want to help you. So I think I'll hold on to this, if that's okay with you? If you wish. He looks back at the window, thinking you won't notice his smile. It's getting dark. You should head back home, Becca. Sounds good. See you later, Mr. C. and you make your way down the stairs, leaving Crocodracula alone in his castle. The end. Would you like to restart, restore a save game, quit, or undo the last command? We're going to quit there, but that was quite the game. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Jay Essen, and this has been Crocodracula, The Beginning. Next time, we will reconvene for the next chapter of the Crocodracula saga that was provided by this company. And I hope you have a wonderful day.